million of coverage.
Oh, you gotta say that again.
Go ahead.
Okay, I'll say it. Big Lou and Term Provider could get a 50-year-old man, a little dinged up, $1 million in life insurance for around $200 a month.
Call Big Lou.
Big Lou.
He's like you.
800-511-3535. That's 800-511-3535.
Don't put it off. If you're overweight, diabetic, have high blood pressure, you gotta call Big Lou.
Gotta.
800-511-3535.
Write it down.
800-511-3535.
President Trump has been exonerated, and now there's something every real American ought to have. Limited edition Trump 2020 American Eagle Silver Dollars. Celebrate Trump's historic victory with limited edition American Silver Eagles, specially priced from government.com. Just call 1-800-932-4635. Hold the weight of democracy in your hand with new, perfect, uncirculated condition Silver Eagle coins. These historic coins, signed into law by Reagan, have been America's money since 1986. To secure your new limited edition Trump 2020 American Eagle Silver Dollar coins, call 1-800-932-4635. Call now and we'll give you a free Trump 2020 Patriots Pack, including a Declaration of Independence commemorative and 5 Lincoln cents when you order. Call now to secure your silver dollar coins. Plus, get your free Trump 2020 Patriots Pack, valued at over $10, free with every order. 1-800-932-4635. That's 1-800-932-4635.
Your home for Sean Hannity. KDWN Las Vegas, KKLZ HD2 Las Vegas, a Beasley Media Group station.
Increased our assessment of the risk of spread and the risk of impact of COVID-19 to very high.
And the head of the World Health Organization says the window is closing for the world to prevent a pandemic. Fear and uncertainty about the impact of the coronavirus are driving stocks down for a 7th straight session. Correspondent Christine Roman says the market is down more than 10%.
A correction. There have been several of them over the last decade, but it is a reminder the stocks tend to go up over time. At least right now with coronavirus, you're not seeing a whole heck of a lot of buying to come in and stabilize this thing.
Consumers are looking to buy protective face masks, and that's driving up the price.
People in some countries are even buying up toilet paper and tissues on rumors they can also help protect against getting the virus. The run on masks are causing some problems. First, in some places, the item is sold out. And where you can get them, as we reported earlier this month, prices have been hiked up exponentially.
We've seen price increases of up to 100 times.
The WHO's Dr. Mike Ryan says masks are needed if you're sick or you're caring for someone who is sick. Plus, he says, masks don't necessarily protect you. Even if you wear a mask, you can't touch your face or rub your eyes. I'm Jim Roop.
The House Judiciary Committee is launching a wide-ranging probe of Attorney General William Barr and the Justice Department, demanding briefings, documents, and interviews with 15 officials as it tries to determine whether there has been improper political interference in federal law enforcement. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo says the reduction in fighting with the Taliban in Afghanistan seems to be holding.
We've seen just these last 6 days a significant reduction in violence in Afghanistan.
Pompeo says the U.S. is watching Iran to see whether it tries to interfere and inflate tensions. On Wall Street, the Dow was down about 750 points. I'm Mike Morse.
If you're one of the millions of Americans who owes back taxes, if you get nervous.
This report sponsored by Sam and Ash. The crash on the 215 Southern Beltway eastbound at Buffalo, a cement truck on its side moved over to the right. The through lanes are open. Expect some slow and go still from Sunset, rounding the Durango curb kind of heavy till you get past Buffalo. Also an accident on the Northern Beltway eastbound at Durango. That's going to be an on-ramp issue. After an accident, the insurance company won't have your back, and that's why you need personal injury attorney Sam and Ash, because you deserve what's right. Visit them now at samandash.com or call 1-800-304-2000. John Michaels from the KDON Traffic Center.
It's open enrollment season, and Medishare is the Christian healthcare sharing ministry that saves most families about $500 a month. Google Medishare and see if it's a fit for you. Medishare, healthcare you can believe in.
I'm Jim Snyder.
And I'm Marie Mortero. We want to thank you for making News 3 your #1 choice for news.
Every weeknight at 11, you can count on us to have the big story of the day.
Plus breaking news that matters to you.
Jim Snyder and Marie Mortero. News 3 live at 11.
Okay, grab a pen and a paper because we're going to lay it on you straight up.
Everybody wants to know how much a loan from Dollar Loan Center really costs, and it's way less than most people think. Vegas, Reno, Carson City, Pahrump, Laughlin, Fernley. The DLC is everywhere. So check this out. Let's start with a loan of $500 and we'll do the math from there. A $500 loan at Dollar Loan Center costs $2.75 a day in interest. Again, a $500 loan will cost you $2.75 per day in interest. If you need it for a week, $19.25. That's it. No fees to apply, no penalty to pay early, nothing else. Critics want you to think you have to pay back 2, 3, 4 times what you borrow, and it's simply not true. Please do your own research.
Licensed by the Nevada Financial Institutions Division. Annual percentage rate of 199.99%. For additional cost information, call 866-550-4352. Certain limitations may apply. Loans are subject to approval.
Eric's IRS troubles were nasty.
I had 10 years of unpaid tax returns. I owed a ton of money in taxes. I started getting letters.
And unbelievably complex.
Things that are written in the tax code are so complicated that if you don't pay a tax professional to do your taxes, you're going to screw up. This was such a complex problem, I did not think anybody could solve it.
Eric's whole life was about to go down the drain. So he called Optima Tax Relief.
Optima was able to make sense out of a huge disaster, and Optima stopped it.
To say the least, Eric was very relieved.
They got me out of hot water, that's for sure. Optima saved me a boatload of money and got me out of a horribly complex situation. A huge relief and a huge weight lifted off my shoulders.
Got a nasty, confusing tax problem? Do what Eric did and call Optima right now for a free consultation. Call 800-375-2922. 800-375-2922. 800-375-2922.
Optima Tax Relief.
Testimonial from an actual client. Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
1015 FM, 720 AM. KDON, the talk of Las Vegas. The opinions of the hosts on KDWN are their own and do not necessarily reflect the views of this station, its management, or Beasley Media Group. Right now, the day's biggest news stories from a Vegas perspective. This is the Vegas Take with Sharp and Shapiro.
What's up, everybody? Welcome. It is the Vegas Take, Sharp and Shapiro. So glad you could join us on a Friday. Oh, yeah, a lot to get to today. We're going to have some fun. We got some interesting guests, some very good guests today. And as I said, a lot to run over on this Friday. Let's start with the kind of the rundown on what we're doing today. I was unaware in this Houston Astros scandal, this cheating scandal. I was unaware that the Oakland A's were involved as much as they were. In fact, the whistleblower on the A's team was not the first person to really complain about this stuff. It was actually the A's organization. So what better person to have on the line today in hour number 2 than Oakland A's general manager, David Forst. He's going to be joining us coming up in hour number 2. That's going to be a lot of fun. Hour number 3 is going to be really cool as well. I grew up with these guys, man. I grew up with Kid and Play, JD. You're a little younger than I am. Tell me if you remember this song. Do you remember this song by Kid and Play? Listen to that.
The workday's over and I got it made. Like Johnny Kemp said, I just got paid and I'm ready to mingle. Young man single and
you remember these guys? They're pretty good.
Down to party and have a good time.
Ain't gonna hurt nobody. All right, I'll sing the chorus because I don't want to wait that long for the chorus. I'll sing the chorus. Anyway. All right, cut it. I don't want to wait for the chorus for 5 minutes. Anyway.
Keep rolling. I want to hear more.
House
party. That's right.
There we go. Thank you. Just waiting for the payoff. Ain't gonna hurt no. Anyway, all right, that's enough.
Not gonna hurt anybody.
All right, that's enough Kid and Play. That's enough Kid and Play. Anyway, Chris Reid is Kid from Kid and Play. You remember those movies he did back in the day, the house party movies? Awesome. He's going to be joining us in studio. He's actually doing stand-up comedy now. He was one of the biggest stars in Hollywood back in the early 90s. He really was. The movies, the music. This guy was like A-list beyond belief.
And the hair.
Yes, and the hair.
His hair's probably 10 inches tall.
Yes.
Or was 10 inches tall.
Probably not anymore, but we'll find out because Chris Reid's going to be coming in studio from Kid and Play in hour number 3. It's going to be a lot of fun. Of course, we're going to do the hate mail stuff. I want to start, though, with coronavirus. And we're going to have Dr. Judith Ford joining us, medical director here in Las Vegas, talk to us a little bit about coronavirus. But this is an issue. This is a problem because there are a lot of people on the right, including Don Jr., also known as Biff, who thinks that Democrats are the reason why we have this coronavirus issue in the United States. It's unbelievable. I want to play you a little bit of audio. This is Brian Kilmeade this morning on Fox and Friends having a talk with Don Jr., and you're not going to believe Don Jr.'s response here when it comes to the coronavirus. Have a listen to this.
Are you surprised the way they've been handling the coronavirus situation, meaning Democrats?
Not at all. I mean, we've seen, like you said, we've seen this play out for 4 years. Anything that they can use to try to hurt Trump, they will. Anything he does in a positive sense, like you heard from the reporter that was just suspended from ABC, they will not give him credit for. The playbook is old at this point. But for them to try to take a pandemic and seemingly hope that it comes here and kills millions of people so that they could end Donald Trump's streak of winning is a new level of sickness. You know, I don't know if this is coronavirus or Trump derangement syndrome, but these people are infected badly. To run that in the New York Times, this isn't Fox. This isn't one of these, crazy left-wing journalists. This is the New York Times writing this with seriousness. It's truly sick. Now, those same Democrats last week when my father shut down travel to and from China were saying, it's an overreaction. It's a disaster. You're being xenophobic. Now they're flipping that. I mean, they can have it both ways because no one in the media will actually cover themselves honestly. And that's what's going on. And I think the American people have seen it for what it is. And it's an absolute travesty.
You know what an absolute travesty is? Don Jr. ever being born. That's an absolute travesty. That's why I'm not pro-life.
Oh, is that why?
I want to read part of this quote again that Don Jr. said. It's unbelievable. You want to know what's sickening? Don Jr. and any right-wing nut. And by the way, there were some nuts that do radio shows, so-called hosts, that call it the deep state, and that's why this virus is in this country right now. It's a joke. I want to read this quote one more time. For them to try to take a pandemic, now this is Don Jr. talking about Democrats, and seemingly hope that it comes here and kills millions of people so that they could end Donald Trump's streak of winning is a new level of sickness. First of all, what I would say to Don the Idiot Jr., where is your proof that you can find me one Democrat in office that hopes millions of people in this country die so Donald Trump is not elected in 2020? He has zero proof to back up that ridiculous radical claim. And by the way, he is not the only person saying things like that. For the son of the President of the United States to make a claim like that is beyond irresponsible, idiotic. And people should be outraged by that comment, and anybody for that matter that makes that claim. So that is why we wanted to have Dr. Judith Ford on the line today. She is the medical director of the Clinical Quality for Healthcare Partners Nevada. And she is going to join us, and she is going to tell us just how serious this coronavirus is, what you can do to prevent getting this virus. And right now, Dr. Ford joins us on the line. Doctor, thank you so much for being here. How are you? Doctor, are you there?
Yes, hello.
Hi, Doctor. Thank you so much for joining us. I appreciate it.
Good. I'm well, thank you.
So, Doctor, let me just start, and I don't want to make this a political interview because that's not why we wanted you to come on. However, with that being said, there are some people with political bias that are saying this is a farce, that the coronavirus doesn't exist. Can you set the record straight for us and tell us how serious this is? And I would imagine you would disagree with that. Can you give us the facts?
Yeah, I laughed. So I really recommend that everybody go to cdc.gov. The CDC has a long history of being unbiased, unpolitically interested in public health. I think the website is incredibly user-friendly, and it will give you up-to-the-minute details of what cases have and have not been discovered in America. Obviously, we're most interested in America. There have been no cases in Nevada to date. There have been cases in California, and Arizona. So in our neighbor states, but it is real, absolutely. And the experts, the epidemiologists and the virologists who are close to this, say it's likely that we are going to see more coronavirus in the United States.
So, you walk around the casinos in Las Vegas and you see all these people wearing these masks and stuff. And from what I understand, that doesn't necessarily help you. Can you talk a little bit about that and why there are so many people in this city, particularly in casinos, wearing these masks? And what do you think about that?
Yeah. So let's talk about absolutely who should wear a mask. If a patient is sick and they show up at one of our clinics or they show up in the emergency room, we mask them, right? So sick people should certainly wear a mask to keep spreading anything they have, the flu or a cold or the coronavirus, to other people. What you're talking about is should the general public walk around with masks? And right now, the CDC is saying we don't think it's very helpful. First of all, those surgical masks talking about have gaps on the sides. Those rectangular ones have gaps on the sides. They don't completely surround your mouth and face. Second of all, people are fidgeting with them. They're putting their hands on them. They're taking them off. So we don't want people to be touching their hands to their face, right? That's how you get viruses and flu. So, it's not clear how much they're actually helping.
So a city like San Francisco, who has not had any coronaviruses diagnosed in their city, but they have a high Asian population, they have a high homeless population, they declare a state of emergency for the coronavirus. Do you think that other cities with high Asian populations and high homeless populations should do the same thing?
That's interesting. So right now, it seems like travel history is the issue. So I think San Francisco did this because they have so many people who are traveling in and out of San Francisco. So it's really more about travel history than it is ethnicity. So any city that's seeing a lot of people coming and going from Asia, I would say that would be reasonable for. So it's not a cultural thing or a racial thing; it's a travel history thing.
But
in terms of homeless populations, any area where you have people living together in close quarters with poor hygiene is going to be worrisome. So even the cruise ship in Japan, it turned out quarantining those people in that cruise ship probably wasn't the best idea because you just created a mass area for people to infect each other. So any area that has a lot of people congregating, so that would be prisons, that would be homeless encampments, that is going to be a higher risk for disease. So it's not about targeting the homeless or targeting Asian populations. It's about travel history and public gathering places.
now, by that logic, considering Las Vegas has 1.1 million people visiting here every single week, and we are considered the tourist destination of the world at this point, would that logic apply to us? Should we possibly follow through with something like that?
I think maybe at some point. I don't think we're there yet. Again, we haven't had a single case in Nevada. Again, homeless people in prisons and stuff live together. In the casinos, we're not living with each other, right? We have our own rooms and our own hygiene. But, could I imagine a scenario where casinos got shut down eventually? It's possible. It's possible. Certainly in the Asian countries that are seeing high numbers, they have shut down casinos. We know this, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's possible. Do I think we're there yet? No. I think it's a possibility. It's a scenario that people need to think about.
Sure.
I've been talking to a lot of people, kind of run-of-the-mill Vegas citizens about how they should prepare. And I think you should think about what happens if your school is shut down for a couple of weeks, where your kid's going to go. What are you going to do for childcare? If your work is shut down for a couple of weeks, if you do work in a big office building, can you work from home? If you were to get sick, do you know how to reach your primary care physician to get some advice?
Mm-hmm.
So I think people should be thinking about, those kind of scenarios, short-term disruptions in our normal lives. But I don't think that anybody would advise the Vegas Strip to shut down at this point. Again, given the fact that we don't have a single case in Nevada.
Right. If you're just joining us, she is Dr. Judith Ford, Medical Director of Clinical Quality Healthcare Partners of Nevada. Okay, so speak to, in layman's terms, idiots like me who don't have the knowledge that you have clearly. Can you explain to us, what is the coronavirus? Is it like the flu? Is it worse than the flu? Talk to us a little bit about that.
Yeah, well, it's a virus, first of all, so it's like the flu, as opposed to bacteria. Unfortunately, the coronavirus does not respond to any treatment we have right now. So as opposed to a bacterial infection where you could take an antibiotic. So right now there is no vaccine for the coronavirus. There is no treatment for the coronavirus. So the flu virus, influenza virus, we have developed a vaccine. So could we develop a vaccine for coronavirus? Absolutely. Can we do that in 2 months? No. The science doesn't move that quickly.
Right.
So it is a virus. There's no vaccine for it. There is no treatment for it. 80% of coronavirus infections worldwide are mild, meaning a person could stay at home and just ride it out. The symptoms they would have would be fever, runny nose, cough. It would feel like a bad cold or the flu.
Sure.
And so 80% of infections would just ride it out at home and try not to infect other people. 20% of infections are severe and would present with shortness of breath, trouble breathing. And so those people, if they're advised to go to the hospital, would be cared for by the hospital. They would get fluids, they would get supplemental oxygen, they would get, support from a hospital. Again, there would be they wouldn't get treated. There is no treatment. We're not holding back treatment. But those people would need extra hospital support. And then again, those patients would be isolated in the hospital and people taking care of them would be gloved and masked.
Sure.
To protect everyone.
So
does that answer your question?
Absolutely, very much so. So I want to ask you this, though. Why do you think that this is affecting the stock market? I mean, I know you're a doctor, but why is it getting to that point?
I don't know a whole lot about the psychology of the stock market, but it seems to me that, they're reacting to the concept that this could be, after the CDC's announcement, that this could be affect more countries and the global economy. We know we're going to see ripples coming out of China that are only just beginning. I have an iPhone in my pocket, right? iPhone, a lot of the components are made in China.
Right.
So I think the CDC's announcement this week that it's likely to be in the United States more, that it's likely to reach pandemic levels, I think the stock market has result. I don't think it's anything real yet, but I think it's a psychological reaction by the stock market.
And you mentioned other countries. Actually, the female vice president of Iran was just declared positive.
Well, interestingly, it doesn't seem to affect children as much. And we don't really fully understand why. There's some thinking that maybe childhood vaccinations are somehow having some overlap protection for coronavirus. It seems to be mostly adults. And yes, so adults who start off with a compromised immune system or have, compromised lungs from COPD or emphysema or heart failure seem to be at higher risk. Just like anything else. But interestingly, it seems the cases seem to be less shifted to children, which is great. But it does seem the worst cases and the mortality, the people who die seem to be people who are immunocompromised.
And last question, doctor. How did this disease actually originate? The conversation is bat soup and something with snakes and something, mixed with basically an infected, diseased vermin into, human food because it's a zootonic disease. What actually happened?
Yeah, so yes, it probably started in a bat. We don't know how it jumped to humans. We don't know that intermediate part. In the case of the MERS virus, which was the Middle Eastern coronavirus, that was an issue about 8 years ago, the intermediary animal seemed to have been a camel.
Wow.
That it went from a bat to a camel. But we don't know which animal it went from bat to human. They haven't really figured that out. But yes, the infected bat seems to have been, or bats seem to have been in a live animal market in the Wuhan province. But I don't think they've worked out exactly. And what happens is these viruses jump from one species to another to another.
Well, you know what? It's just an excuse. It's just an excuse, doctor, so I can tell our producer to stop smoking those Camel cigarettes because I'm going to say he's causing the coronavirus.
Right.
Very simple. Well, doctor, let me say.
There's 100 reasons to stop smoking, and coronavirus has nothing to do with it.
Unless you're the vice president of the United States.
Thank you for setting him straight.
But
Doc.
that's a story for another show. Dr. Ford, I really appreciate your expertise. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. We hope that it stays that way. No cases of coronavirus in the state of Nevada. But we appreciate your help and your expertise on this. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Have a good day.
You too.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Doc.
You know, it's amazing. I'm shocked, ladies and gentlemen. This is shocking. Dr. Judith Ford, who happens to be a professional and knows what she's talking about, she didn't mention the deep state for causing the coronavirus. I'm just absolutely, hold on a second. I'm just shocked here. I didn't mention her name, that evil word of Democrats. Did she mention the deep state? Gosh, I'm just so shocked that these right-wing buffoons just might be wrong.
She didn't mention the lab 1,000 feet under the ground, like Dr. Evil's, where they created this virus.
It's funny.
And spread it upon the world, but decided not to touch the United States.
It's funny. She didn't echo any of the same words that Don the idiot buffoon Jr. Mentioned. Don Jr.
I'm not angry that Don Jr. was born. I think that was that was one hell of a ridiculous thing to say.
No.
That being said, and I do think that Democrats and specific members of the left-wing media, they like what's happening with the stock market. The stock market dropping makes Donald Trump's economy look bad, which is and they think I think that a lot of Democrats are happy that the stock market is dropping.
That people are dying. Happy that people are dying.
Not happy that people are dying.
Well, that's what Don Jr. said.
I'm not saying
that's
that.
what Don Jr.
I'm
said.
not saying that.
The son of the president said that.
I'm saying the Democrats would love Donald Trump to have a poor economy and a bad stock market. They think he won't get elected. The thing is, the Democrats aren't taking into account the fact that the average citizen in the United States realizes that this is not Donald Trump's
It's a ridiculous
fault.
thing to say.
This has nothing to do with Donald
All right,
Trump.
so let's put this to rest.
This is a total coincidental circumstance that just happens to be around election time.
Well, I'm glad,
at least I hope that that's the case.
I'm glad that you said that. But the son of the president of the United States, let me read what he said again because it's so disgusting and despicable. And by the way, there are some right-wing talk show hosts that are using the term deep state. I'm not even going to mention their names because they're nobodies. They don't even deserve.
Well, let's be real. They're honestly not worth mentioning because they don't matter.
That's true.
Bottom line.
I want to read the quote. Someone else that shouldn't matter is Don Jr. Okay, sadly. Here's what he said again. He said, and he's talking about the Democrats, to take a pandemic and seemingly hope that it comes here and kills millions of people so that they could end Donald Trump's streak of winning is a new level of sickness. Don Jr., you are a fool. Just like all the other fools that like to use the term deep state, they probably even know what the word means. He is saying that he thinks that Democrats not only want the coronavirus here, but want millions of people killed so Donald Trump doesn't get elected in 2020. Not only is it ridiculous, why doesn't someone test him on that response? Why didn't Brian Kilmeade ask him, can you name me one Democrat that you know that has said that on the record? Can you name me one Democrat that actually wants millions of Americans dead so that your father doesn't win in 2020? You see, because when you're interviewing somebody, you're supposed to question them when they say something ridiculous. But Brian Kilmeade, who I like, who has been on this show before and he treated us great, didn't ask a follow-up question. You know why? Because he's on a network called Fox News. That's why. And I believe that
there's only one reason: job security.
It's ridiculous.
Bottom line.
I thought that should be the opposite of job security in asking difficult questions. You know, but you're not going to call Fox News fake news, right? You would never do that. Again, let me go back to what I just said because I think this is very important. We just had Dr. Judith Ford on the show, okay? She is a medical director here in Nevada. She knows everything you need to know or everything you could possibly know about what this coronavirus is. She didn't mention the word deep state. She didn't make it political. She didn't talk about Democrats. But these radical idiots on the right, some talk show host who spread false rumors, and the son of the president of the United States goes on national TV this morning saying basically that Democrats want millions of Americans dead and that this coronavirus is a farce only because they want Donald Trump out of office in 2020. Let me tell you something. It's true that the majority of Democrats want Donald Trump out of office, but doesn't mean at the cost of killing innocent lives, you dope, you stupid moron. Can you imagine if one of Barack Obama's kids said something like this when he was in office? Can you imagine what the Sean Hannitys, the Laura Ingrams, the Tucker Carlsons of the world would have done? This is a serious thing that this guy said. And I know he's just the son of the president, and I know he's never accomplished anything in his life, but there is a responsibility when you are a family member of the president of the United States to say that Democrats want to kill millions of Americans or would like to see millions of Americans die because they want Donald Trump out of office? Do we understand? I don't care if you're a Trump supporter or not. Do you understand how serious that is? Do you understand how that divides people and can make people violent, especially people that are deranged? For God's sakes, man, can this guy just shut his mouth? Just shut your mouth, Don Jr. You are an idiot. And speaking of idiots, coming up next, you're not going to believe the president's definition of a black leader. You're not going to believe what his definition is of a black leader. We got all this stuff going on with the coronavirus, everything in the world. You're not going to believe who the president met with yesterday and called black leaders. We'll get to that coming up next. You're listening to The Vegas Take.
The moment the water in your toilet starts moving in the wrong direction is no time to dilly-dally. It can feel as if you're in a submarine with seawater inching toward your chin. This is a time for quick thinking. Time to call the Plumbing A-Team at Yes Plumbing, a truly different kind of plumbing company. A slightly obsessive, neat-free, clean room, booties in your house type plumbing company who will do a job so well you may never see them again. And when it comes to plumbers, that's a good thing. When the water rises, call Yes Plumbing, 888-4937, or go online to theyesmancan.com. License 71233.
Yeah, so Aiden's coffee spot is really undope. They asked what they can get me, and I'm like, the code to the bathroom. Stop trying to sell me something.
No matter how hard you work for your small business, online reviewers will find something to complain about.
Also, the Wi-Fi password was too hard to spell, and I can totally spell stuff.
And while Progressive can't save you from these trolls, we can help you save money on commercial, auto, and business insurance.
They didn't have any cups out for the free cream, so I just drank it out of the pitcher.
Get a quote online today at progressivecommercial.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company, affiliated and third-party insurers.
The organization says the window of opportunity is closing to prevent a coronavirus pandemic.
Since yesterday, Denmark, Estonia, Lithuania, Netherlands, and Nigeria have all reported their first cases.
Many of the new cases can be traced to travelers from Italy and Iran. Acting Chief of Staff Mick Mulvaney says the virus is being used against the president.
The reason you're saying so much attention to it today is that they think this is going to be what brings down the president. That's what this is all about. I got a note today from a reporter saying, "What are you going to do today to calm the markets?" And I'm like, really, what I might do today to calm the markets is tell people to turn their televisions off for 24 hours.
Stock traders remain anxious and uncertain, and that is driving stocks down for a seventh straight session. On Wall Street at this hour, the Dow is down more than 500 points. That's more than 2%. S&P down as well. I'm Mike Moss.
It's time to check the roads.
From the Lerner and Rowe Traffic Studio.
This report sponsored by Sam and Ash. The crash on the 215 Southern Beltway eastbound at Buffalo, a cement truck on its side moved over to the right. The through lanes are open. Expect some slow and go still from Sunset, rounding the Durango curve kind of heavy till you get past Buffalo. Also an accident on the Northern Beltway eastbound at Durango. That's going to be an on-ramp issue. After an accident, the insurance company won't have your back, and that's why you need personal injury attorneys Sam and Ash, because you deserve what's right. Visit them now at samandash.com or call 1-800-304-2000. John Michaels from the KDON Traffic Center.
If you're one of the millions of Americans who owes back taxes, if you get nervous when the mail comes because you might get a letter from the IRS, then you've heard. Their enforcement agents are cracking down this year and can garnish your paycheck, levy your bank accounts. Even your home or business could be at risk over unpaid taxes. It's all true, but it's also true there's a way out. It's called the Fresh Start Initiative, an important government program for tax debt assistance. The award-winning experts at Optima Tax Relief will fight to get you the best deal possible, protecting your paycheck and your assets from IRS collections. But don't delay, because the IRS is tacking on interest and hefty penalties every single day. So don't wait until it's too late. Call Optima now for a free consultation.
Call 800-375-2577. 800-375-2577. 800-375-2577.
Optima Tax Relief.
Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
Mark Levin, weekdays 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. Now back to the Vegas Take on 101.5 FM, 720 AM. KDON.
All right, welcome back. It is the Vegas Take, Sharp and Shapiro. If it couldn't get worse, the president's son says that Democrats want millions of Americans dead from the coronavirus so that Donald Trump could win in 2020. While all that's going on yesterday, Donald Trump claimed that he was meeting with quote-unquote black leaders. That's right. That's what he said. Black leaders. Well, some of those black leaders, a duo called Diamond and Silk. Names are Lynette Hardaway and Rochelle Richardson. Facebook called them unsafe to the community. They rose to fame for their YouTube videos in support of Donald Trump. One of their most popular videos is going after Megyn Kelly after the 2016 presidential debate. They told Kelly to go back to reporting the news for Sesame Street after Kelly brought up some of the things that Trump said, calling women fat pigs, dogs, slobs, and disgusting animals. Hardaway then called Kelly a bitch. Richardson makes a beeping noise to censor her sister. These are two women that appear to me to be extremely uneducated. They can't even speak English. But according to Donald Trump, they're black leaders. And he spent a good 45 minutes to an hour with them yesterday. So if you're unfamiliar with Diamond and Silk, if you're unfamiliar with what they sound like and the things they say, and if you still think they're black leaders, I want you to have a listen to this. This is them speaking at the CPAC back in 2020.
Ask for letters in Democrats.
Yeah.
Spell rats.
Rats. R-A-T-S.
Yeah. And their symbol, the symbol happened to be a donkey. Did y'all know that?
Their symbol is a donkey.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Oh, but to you Democrats.
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm.
You may make an ass out of you, but you won't make an ass out of us.
No, you
no,
won't.
no, no, no.
Oh, no,
no,
you
you
won't.
won't.
Yes, you will. Yes,
you
you
won't
will.
do that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Not to us.
Mm-hmm.
No, you won't.
Yes, you
you
will.
can keep your free stuff.
Keep it.
Because we don't want it.
That's right.
That's right.
Now, the last four letters in Republican is I can.
I can.
I can.
Think about it, y'all.
Think about
I
it.
can.
Think about
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Black
I
leaders.
can think for myself.
Oh, that's for sure.
I can pull myself up by my bootstraps.
Yes, I can.
No, you
And
can't.
I can obtain the American dream.
Yes, I can.
Boy, it couldn't have spoken any better. Sounds just like Martin Luther King Jr. Wow, those are really black leaders. Very intelligent people. Extremely intelligent. Boy, Donald Trump couldn't have chose any better.
Wait, what makes those two particular African-American women unintelligent, Brian?
Well, if you go by their past, I don't know if you have, if you see the statements that they've made, if you see they can't even speak third-grade English, if you see the unfactual things that they have said over the course of the last several years, dating back to 2016, I think it's pretty fair to say if you can't speak third-grade English, then you probably shouldn't be called a quote-unquote leader.
But did you actually listen to what they were saying there?
Yeah, about Democrats, the rats, and Republicans. I can. Yeah, I listened very closely.
They're saying that
it was very
African-Americans in the
intelligent.
United States don't need the government to prop them up, that they can make their own success on their own.
They said a lot of other things, too, though. They said a lot of other things, too, though. You didn't hear some of the other stuff they said? Rats, Democrats, Republicans, I can.
Is the word rat in Democrat, Brian?
Do you really think a black leader should be speaking like that?
I'm just asking you, is it? Or
It is.
It is. Okay.
Yeah, it is. But
So that's fact.
And that's very important to
Well,
bring
at
that
least
up.
you can't call them liars.
That's very important. No, they are liars because they say things that are not factual. And then we have another guy, a former NFL player. This is just unbelievable. That was in the meeting yesterday. His name is Jack Brewer. He's a former NFL safety, played college ball at Southern Methodist University. Have a listen to what he said at this meeting yesterday.
But I gotta say this because this is Black History Month. Man, you the first black president.
So if you had problems hearing that, the audio's not great. He called Donald Trump the first black president. First of all, just to let Jack know, Donald Trump is not black, he's white. So just to be factual on that one. 87% of Donald Trump's cabinet happens to be white. So for the first black president, he's certainly not choosing minorities to work in his cabinet. And this farce that Donald Trump has done all these great things for black people because the unemployment rate is low. Let me read you just a few things that Barack Obama has done, because, you know, you hear the argument all the time. Barack Obama did nothing for minorities, and Donald Trump is the first black president. And Donald Trump has done so much for black people. Well, the poverty rate for African Americans fell faster in 2015 than in any year since 1999, but you won't hear that from the right. Since the start of the Affordable Care Act's first open enrollment period at the end of 2013, the uninsured rate among non-elderly African Americans declined more than half. Teen pregnancy among African American women was at a historic low during the Barack Obama presidency. Life expectancy at birth, the highest it's ever been for African Americans. High school graduation rates for African American students were at the highest point in history since the president took office, and I'm talking about Barack Obama, not Donald Trump. Over 1 million more black and Hispanic students enrolled in college. African Americans and Hispanic students 25 and older, high school completion higher than ever before. The number of juveniles in secure detention reduced dramatically over the decade or so that Barack Obama was in office. Incarceration rates went down. The president ordered the Justice Department to ban the use of solitary confinement for juveniles held in federal custody. And there are 8 million minority-owned firms in the U.S. It was a 30% increase since 2007, since Barack Obama took office. He's made 62 lifetime appointments of African Americans to serve on the federal bench. So don't you give me this crap that Trump has done so much more than Barack Obama did for minorities, because it's a joke and it's a lie. You want to give me a few policies that Trump has implemented to help African Americans? That's fine, but you want to call leaders of the black community Diamond and Silk? A couple of so-called YouTube stars that sound like they don't have their GED? They're black leaders? Seriously, what would Martin Luther King Jr. say about that? The first black president? The number to call is 702-257-5396. Again, that number to call, 702-257-5396. And if you want a few more quotes from Diamond and Silk, they said, "Comey is not our homie, clink, clink." That's just one of many quotes.
They appear to be comedians, Brian. They appear to have entertainment in their act, and part of that is using, we'll call it second grade grammar, not quite third grade grammar, 8-year-old grammar, if you will, on occasion.
Is that a black leader?
As far as Jack Brewer goes, clearly Donald Trump is not actually biologically African American.
He's the first orange president.
Clearly, he's not.
He's the first orange president.
To Jack Brewer, is it possible that he relates to Donald Trump as if he is, as opposed to Barack Obama, who actually was biologically partially African?
I just want to read a few more quotes from Diamond and Silk. Trump's yo president, so get over it. Shut up, Joy, in regards to MSNBC. We classy and we sassy, but if you cross us, things may get a little nasty. Boy, that sounds like a black leader to me if I've ever heard one. We did not lie on that show, talking about the NRA's annual meeting. We didn't lie on that show. We did that show on the 11th. We were contacted by Facebook on the 12th. Don't try to mince my words. These are just a few things Diamond and Silk have said over the course of the last several years. She goes, "If the shoe was on the other foot and Mark Zuckerberg was a conservative and we were liberals, all fences and change would have broke loose. You know it and we know it." These are the comments of Diamond and Silk. 257-5396 is the number to call. Let's go to Malik. Malik, you are first up on the Vegas Take. What's going on, my friend?
Hey, what's up, Malik?
Hey, fellas, how's it going? Hey,
Good.
Katie, first of all, let me set the record straight. Truth to power. If you have any melanin in your skin, you're not partially a melanated person. You are fully melanated. So Barack is not partially black. He's a black man, meaning he's melanated. Okay. Secondly,
I appreciate that, Malik.
Diamond and Silk are what we call bootlickers. The same as Jack Brewer. He's a bootlicker. Reverend Scott, bootlicker. Coon, you can call him whatever you want. I don't know if Trump pays them or gives them little stipends or whatever, but those are typically those people that I watch that prayer breakfast. Black people in the whole, we look at them, we call them bootlickers. They're like suckers.
Malik, I just call them idiots because I think they're idiots.
Because anytime you go up there and you say that President Trump, whether he relates or not, is the first black president, you must be smoking crack. And that Diamond and Silk, those are what they're like real, like what you call clowns. Those are real. They are real clowns.
They're circus clowns, is what they are. Yeah.
And you know what? The right is having just such a ball with them.
Malik,
so does Trump.
I agree.
Trump loves it.
Malik, I agree
But
with.
thanks, man. I just want to let you know what we call them, in our community, we call them bootleggers.
So what are you trying to say, Malik? That the president isn't black? I'm sorry, that was a bad joke. Malik, thanks.
He's
thanks.
orange. He's melanated because he's got orange skin.
That's
bro.
true. That's true, Malik.
Bro.
thanks for the call, Malik. I love you, my friend. Thanks for calling in. 257-5396. Let's go to Richard. Richard, you are next up on the Vegas Take. What's going on?
Hey, what's up, Richard?
Yeah, I wouldn't call them black leaders, but they are extremely inspiring because in these times it takes enormous courage for any African American to stand up and publicly say they support.
What just happened? Did we just lose Richard? Richard, what just happened? Did we lose you? Richard, are you back? I'm sorry.
I'm here.
Go ahead. I apologize. Finish your thought there. We lost you for a second.
Sure. Yeah, I think it takes tremendous courage for any African American to publicly state that they support President Trump right now, and I think they show enormous intelligence in that they know that they'll get a lot of attention that way.
Can I ask you a question, Richard?
Of course, they're working to make money.
Richard,
they clearly are marketing in a specific manner.
Enormous courage.
Okay, so let me ask you a question.
The fact that they're probably two of the only African American women to do what they're doing, they know it's going to definitely increase their public profile.
So, Richard, I appreciate the call.
And draw attention to themselves, and they are making money, and there's no problem with making money.
Well, here's my problem with what Richard just said. Richard just used the term courage. Okay? To me, my definition of courage is going on the battlefront, risking your life to save someone's life. Firefighters, police officers. Hold on, let me finish my thought. Okay? That's the definition of courage. The opposite of courage is going on YouTube saying ridiculous things to try to profit off of it. That's exactly what Diamond and Silk are doing. It doesn't take courage to set up a webcam and say stupid, illiterate things and profit off of it to try to make money. That is the opposite of courage. And by the way, when you say you wouldn't call them black leaders, guess who did call them black leaders? Your president of the United States. 257-5396 is the number to call. Let's go to Carl. Carl, you are next up on the Vegas Take. What's going on?
Hey, what's up, Carl?
Yeah, JD, Brian. Listen, about a year and a half ago, about what Uday Jr. said, I told you this, that in Germany, they were injecting monkeys, and this is true, the scientists, with human DNA to make the monkeys a little more intelligent, to make them respond better to certain things. But I investigated it, and I found out exactly what they were doing. They're trying to breed more Trump sons.
Well, I guess that could be possible, Carl. We appreciate that thought. 702-257-5396. 702-257-5396. Let's go to Victor. Victor, you are next up on the Vegas Take. What's going on?
Hey, what's up, Victor?
Nah, just a quick comment. Good morning, by the way. So basically, I listen to both sides of the argument, right? When it comes to Trump, when it comes to Obama, and all this. So I listen to both sides, and I just think to myself, what better country we would have if the press, commentators, and all these people that are influential in a way would actually criticize both parties with the same comb. Basically, brush them with the same comb. What better country we would have?
Well,
I'm listening to your point right now that you're saying, okay, Donald Trump Jr., he's this, he's that.
Well, he is.
Sure, but then again, on the other side, we had Jenny Fox calling Obama a Lord and Savior, and
okay. Well, let me ask you a question. Let me ask you a question then. Let's take that. What do you think is worse? Somebody calling the president Lord and Savior, or the son of the president saying that Democrats want millions of Americans dead so that Trump will not be reelected in 2020? What do you think is a worse and more irresponsible thing to say?
It's all a political game if you think about it.
That's not what I asked you.
Russia.
That's not what I asked you. With all due respect, I get it. It's a political game. I asked you a very specific question.
That's exactly what it is. I mean,
what is a worse thing to say? What is a worse? If you think the president is your Lord and Savior, I don't feel that way about Obama.
I don't think so. No, I mean, Obama didn't do anything for me.
Okay, and that's fine. That's fine.
At the end, this is what it all falls into, right? A politician doesn't really give us anything. All they do is take our taxes and they spread it among themselves.
But we're getting into the weeds here. I get what you're saying. I don't necessarily disagree with you, Victor, but here's my point. The son of the president of the United States said this morning on Fox and Friends that Democrats want millions of innocent Americans dead from the coronavirus so that his president isn't reelected. Do you understand the seriousness of making a statement like that?
I know it's a serious accusation. I totally see that. But then again, you look at CNN, and all they're doing is basically saying, okay, this is coming. The markets are falling. What is that going to do to
the markets are falling.
In a way,
well, that's a fact.
They're trying, CNN, NBC, they're creating that atmosphere in a way because they're actually saying, yeah, this is coming. This is going to
and you're totally right.
We're not even going to be able to vote. They're creating it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's funny how that works.
No, fear does definitely perpetuate something like that by like having a giant stock market crash. That takes place because people are scared, and the media is definitely creating that fear or pushing that fear in that type of direction. So you definitely can't deny that, Brian.
I'll tell you what the media did not create. That is something called the coronavirus.
Obviously, Brian.
I'll tell you what the media did not create, the fact that the stock market is down. That's what the media did not create. Say whatever you want.
You are wrong there. The media doing what they've been doing with the coronavirus has absolutely affected the stock market. How could you say that it has not?
Let's take some more phone calls. Phone lines are jammed. I think we have one line open, 257-5396. Go to Kara. Kara, you are next up on the Vegas Take.
Hey, what's up,
I
Kara?
have a couple things to say, a few things. I have a contention with something you said earlier, that the Democrats are happy that the stock market's falling.
I didn't say that.
Invest in the stock market.
Yeah, I didn't say that, Kara.
It's not just the Republicans. And
JD said that. I didn't say that.
You were just saying to the other gentleman
about
how the media is creating all this.
Yeah.
That is BS. An informed public is critical to stopping the virus.
Agree.
And they have to inform. That is their job.
Kara?
I'm a journalist.
Yeah.
And that's what journalists do. Their job is to inform people.
Mhm.
It's not creating fear.
Hey,
They're
Kara?
not lying.
Kara,
They're telling you the facts.
No,
Who's
Kara.
not telling you the facts? It's the Trump administration. Do you know they're not testing people in the United States? We could have thousands of people infected. There's 8,400 people in California right now who are being watched, but no one's tested.
Hey, Kara, can I interject real quickly? Kara?
Under Trump doesn't have enough test kits.
Kara,
To test people. There was one lady who ended up having the virus, who's in critical condition right now in Northern California, but no one would test her because the CDC, we don't have enough.
Kara.
We're not preparing for this. We're not doing what it takes. Trump has cut all the important people. He cut scientists.
Okay, Kara. First of all, this is Brian speaking. I agree with everything you said. I never said, I think you're speaking about my co-host JD, so I'm going to let okay, so Karis, hang on the line. I want JD to respond to what you just said. Go ahead, JD.
I said the media is perpetuating it by pushing. Obviously, they didn't create anything. They didn't create the virus. They haven't created the way that the virus has been presented. But by perpetuating it, it's obviously affecting the stock market. And I do, and I do. Hey, Kara, wait. Hey, Kara, wait.
The public of what is happening, that is perpetuating it.
Okay.
No, it's not. That's giving people information that is critically needed to protect themselves. Okay, it's also they're not causing the stock market to go down. What's causing the stock market to go down is there's a worldwide pandemic that's affecting supply lines for manufacturer companies and many other things. Schools are closing in some countries, and companies are closing, and they're limiting travel. That's what's affecting the stock market. You know, using this fake news, blame the media for everything is a bunch of BS on your part. I'm sorry, but basically, you need to start looking at what this administration is doing and get the facts that are happening that people don't even realize. I bet you don't. I read 15 to 20 articles a day about what Trump is doing. Do you know he's stripping, that they have a task force now at the Department of Justice that is stripping people of their citizenship? Okay?
All right, Kara. Well, listen, I appreciate your sentiment. JD, respond. Go ahead. She made some good points there.
Yeah, okay, fine. Donald Trump, if he has a poor economy, the Democrats that do not want him in office will be very, very happy about that. Clearly, you are one of those Democrats. Am I correct on that, Kara?
Well, when I do this signal.
Oh, she's gone? Okay, yeah. And I believe that is a pretty consistent thing across the board right now.
257-5396, the number to call. Let's go to Clay. Clay, you are next up on the Vegas Take. What's going on?
What's up, Clay?
Bill Clinton was the first black police president. You played the saxophone.
All right, Clay, thank you for the phone call.
Clay.
I think you play the saxophone, but that's another story for another show. 702-257-5396 is the number to call. Let's go to Lewis. Lewis, you are next up on the Vegas Take. What's up?
What's up, Lewis?
Lewis, did we lose you? I think we might have lost. I think we might have lost Lewis. Lewis, are you there? 257-5396 is the number to call. Lewis, you're next up on the Vegas Take. What's going on?
JD, good morning. And what are we talking about today? Trump.
So what would you like to talk about? What would you like to talk about today? What's in the news? Lewis,
you know
Lewis,
what we could talk about?
Lewis.
We could talk about how a stadium goes up in 6 months.
All right, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, hold on, Lewis. Lewis, hang on for a second. Pod him down for a second. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Vegas Take. I'm Brian Shapiro. Our new host of the show is Lewis. Lewis, welcome to the Vegas Take. Take it away, brother.
Hey, JD, why don't you guys make that effort to get Public Works on there and discuss how come Koval and Paradise have been in disarray for 20 years, but a stadium can go up in 6 months.
So you think we should do 3 hours in talking about a stadium, and you think we should lead the show in talking about the Raiders Stadium when we got the coronavirus going on, when we got everything in the political spectrum going on, but Lewis is a Trump supporter, so he thinks we should do an hour and talk about the structure of the Raiders Stadium. Lewis, I got to tell you, my friend, I'm glad you're not our producer, because if you were our producer, we wouldn't have 2 listeners. You might be the only listener we have. Thank you so much for the advice. We really appreciate it. We really highly look at your opinion greatly. Thank you so much for that call. That might be the worst call we've ever had. 702-257-5396 is the number to call. Let's go to David. David, you're next up on the Vegas Take. What's up?
Hey, what's up, David?
Hey, good morning, guys. Trying to have a rational conversation about this, if we can.
Absolutely. Just don't say we need to talk about the Raiders Stadium to start the show.
Yeah, no, we're not going to talk about it. So okay. I'm a day trader. I look at the market every day. And, we got to remember we're coming off of all-time highs on the stock market.
Right.
And a lot of what's built into price is growth. And clearly this is going to hamper growth in the economy. I mean, there's no question about that. People are going to be afraid to get on airplanes. People are going to be, concerned about travel and all that kind of stuff. It's going to be a ripple effect. So that's why the stock market's going down, pure and simple.
Okay. Anything else you want to add to that? Go ahead.
Well, yeah, no, and a couple other things. Well, but I do believe that the media does create some panic.
Of course they do. Absolutely. And that caller, Kara, that called in is just clearly a giant Trump hater. The media has a big deal about why the stock market is doing what it's doing. And the media would be elated if the stock market stayed this bad for the next 6 to 7 months and ran into the election time for Donald Trump. And and the crazy part is that the media and the Democrats, if this were to take place, it wouldn't actually help the Democrats. You know who it would help? It would help Bernie Sanders.
Can I add something to that?
It would help the socialist Bernie Sanders.
David, can I add something to that, though? There is a fine line between saying the media plays a role in the panic and then what the president's son said this morning.
Well, that was
Hold
insane.
on, let me finish. Saying that Democrats want millions of people dead from the coronavirus so his father is not elected in 2020. There's a fine line between saying the media plays a role and then idiots getting on the radio on the right that are saying it's the deep state, it's the deep state. Do you get my point, David? While I don't necessarily disagree with what you're saying, there's an extreme on the right, including the son of the president of the United States, that has a responsibility not to say those things. You see where I'm getting at?
I completely agree with you. It would have been nice, however, yesterday when the president had his news conference and he was trying to be very reassuring and upbeat. We got people working on this. We've got this and that and the other thing. And really what I saw the Democrats doing is come out and saying, oh, you're incompetent. This isn't going to work. That's not going to work. Oh, everybody panicked. So right. I did see that panic coming from Democrats talking about how, no, it's not going to be okay. It's just not going to be okay. They're not doing their job. They didn't have enough money. They didn't do this. No president's going to be prepared for this. No administration. COVID-19, nobody heard of it 3 months ago.
Look, David, make no mistake about it.
And now this is a way to look at Donald Trump's cuts he's made to CDC money or something along those lines, and then use that against him. Say, well, why did he not have the perfect 2020 hindsight vision and see this thing coming?
David,
that'll be the next conversation.
David, I appreciate the phone call. Listen, make no mistake about
Good call, David.
I'm not sitting here and saying that this is all the president's fault.
How can you?
But what I am going to say is this. I am very uncomfortable with the vice president being, quote unquote, in charge of this, when this is a man back in 2000 who said that smoking doesn't kill. This is a man who literally would rather pray instead of take medication to cure something. I'm very uncomfortable with somebody like that running the show. With that being said, in talking about yesterday and Diamond and Silk, he spent an hour with quote unquote black leaders. That's what he called Diamond and Silk, black leaders. I have a serious problem with that as well. What a waste of time. I named you all the things that Obama did to help minorities in this country. Don't you tell me that Donald Trump is the first black president. If you want to be accurate, he's the first orange president. What is it that Bill Maher said, by the way? He was his mother, he was the son of an orangutan. I think that's what Bill Maher said. And then Donald Trump tried to sue him. That lawsuit was dropped, by the way, because Bill Maher, last I checked, he's a comedian. If you would I say Bill Maher is a white leader? I mean, that's really what we're talking about. I'll tell you, Bill Maher's a lot smarter than Diamond and Silk. I'll tell you that much. I'll tell you that much. All right, so here's what we're going to do. We are going to take a quick break. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back in a few minutes here, we are going to be talking and continuing this conversation on the other side, taking all your calls. We got plenty of people on hold. We got one phone line open, 702-257-5396. Take a quick break. Be back right after this. You're listening to The Vegas Take.
Nevada is the winningest state for Wheel of Fortune slots, paying over $1 billion in cold hard cash. Play Wheel of Fortune at your favorite casino today.
Wheel of Fortune is a registered trademark of Caliphone Production Incorporated. All rights reserved.
Tina Trenner is back, and she's on 720 AM, 1015 FM, KDWN every Sunday at 12 p.m. She's sick of the nonsense and has something to say every Sunday at 12 p.m.
Eye on Washington with Marilee Joyce, taking Nevadans to Capitol Hill for the latest on the federal issues that matter most to you.
Eye on Washington, Saturday morning at 9:30 on 1015 FM, 720 AM, KDWN.
This is Lorraine Hunt Bono, inviting you to tune in for Breaking Bread with Bono. Join my husband, Dennis Bono, as celebrities share with him their intimate and humorous stories. Saturdays, 5 to 6 p.m., right here on KDWN.
Are you looking for smoke-free housing? Visit gethealthyclarkcounty.org for a list of 50,000 smoke-free units available.
Your home for Sean Hannity, KDWN Las Vegas, KKLZ HD2 Las Vegas, a Beasley Media Group station.
Grips World. I'm Mike Moss. The World Health Organization says the window of opportunity to contain the coronavirus is closing. We get more from correspondent Clarissa Ward.
The World Health Organization saying that they now put the assessment of the risk of spread at very high on a global level.
Europe is feeling a harder hit from the virus today. Correspondent Fred Pleitkin looks at that.
Virus also continuing to spread on the continent as well. Italy really remains very much the hotbed. They're now at about 650 confirmed cases. They also have about 17 dead there. And they have these local quarantines, which is pretty large areas that are being quarantined there. They call those the red zones, where people are not being let in and out, as they're obviously trying to contain the virus from spreading any further.
Japan and South Korea will close schools for at least a month, and White House Acting Chief of Staff Mick Mulvaney says closings are likely in the U.S. as well.
Are you going to see some schools shut down? Probably. May you see impacts on public transportation? Sure, but we do this. We know how to handle this.
Wall Street hasn't found a bottom yet. Stocks are down for a seventh straight day. More from correspondent Allison Cossack.
Procter & Gamble, the biggest consumer products company in the world, saying that it's having supply issues, supply chain disruption issues, which means that it won't be able to get its products out because it relies on China to ship those products out, products like Bounty and Pampers and Gillette razors, that there may be some availability issues.
Fear of the spreading virus has led to a global run on the sales of face masks, despite evidence that most people who aren't sick don't need to wear them. Many businesses are sold out, and others are limiting how many a customer can buy. On Wall Street, stocks have been down sharply all day, at one point down more than 1,000 points, but the Dow is now down 393 points, which looks good. I'm thinking about life.
It's time to check the roads.
From the Lerner and Rowe Traffic Studio.
This report sponsored by Upwork, when you need in-demand talent on demand. A crash reported on the 95 southbound approaching Las Vegas Boulevard. Heavy traffic from the Spaghetti Bowl. Also an accident on the Southern Beltway eastbound at Buffalo. The accident investigation continues. That was a cement truck that rolled onto its side. Still a factor with the vehicle off-right. The through lanes are open. There's no through lane blockage, but there is still slowing from Russell Road on the Western Beltway southbound. Upwork has the largest network of independent professionals like designers, developers, data scientists, you name it. When you need in-demand talent on demand, Upwork is how. I'm John Michaels from the KDON Traffic Center.
It's open enrollment season, and MediShare is the Christian healthcare sharing ministry that saves most families about $500 a month. Google MediShare and see if it's a fit for you. MediShare, healthcare you can believe in.
Chuck, I know it's super easy, but can you walk our listeners through the process of getting a signature loan at Dollar Loan Center?
You'll just need a couple things. Bring along your state-issued ID, recent pay stub, and a few pieces of mail to prove where you live. And if you're getting a loan online at don'tbebroke.com, you can scan and upload all your documents right to our members area.
Sounds easy. How long does the whole process take?
We print up the contract, walk you through it step by step, explain exactly what the costs are. We want to be sure you can really afford the loan. For a new customer, all this takes around 30 minutes, and you're out the door cash in hand. Once you're in the system, it's even quicker.
That was Chuck, founder of Dollar Loan Center, where you can get up to $5,000 in just minutes. We have over 50 locations, or you can apply over the phone or online at don'tbebroke.com.
Licensed by Nevada Financial Institutions Division. Customer must meet the normal loan qualifications. For review loan qualifications, visit us at don'tbebroke.com. Certain limitations may apply. Loans are subject to approval.
The longest running event in Las Vegas is back for its 58th year, February 28th through March 1st at the Westgate Resort and Casino. It's 3 shows in one: the Las Vegas Antique Arms Show, International Sporting Arms Show, and Custom Knife Maker Show. See sporting firearms, antiques, collectibles, custom knives, and more with leading dealers from around the world, and featuring the Firearms Engravers Guild of America, the foremost authority for firearm engravers and hand engraving enthusiasts. All at the Westgate Resort and Casino, February 28th through March 1st.
Join Coach Harvey Hyde and Chuck Hayes Saturday evenings from 9 to 10 p.m. for Trojan Football Report, presented by South Point Hotel and Casino, here on 101.5 FM and 720 AM KDWN, where Las Vegas comes to talk.
V is for victory, except on Saturdays when V is for veterans. That's Veterans Talk, the Forgotten Promise. Join us every Saturday from noon to 1.
Veterans Talk every Saturday at noon on 101.5 FM, 720 AM, KDWN.
The opinions of the hosts on KDWN are their own and do not necessarily reflect the views of this station, its management, or Beasley Media Group. Mark Levin, weekdays 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. Now back to the Vegas Take on 101.5 FM, 720 AM, KDON.
All right, welcome back. It is hour number 2. The Vegas Take, Sharp and Shapiro. So glad you could join us on a Friday. By the way, coming up at the bottom of the hour, Oakland A's general manager David Forst will be joining us. Apparently, the Oakland A's were literally the whistleblower organization that exposed the Houston Astros. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. And the A's happen to be in town. They got some spring training games over the weekend to be played over there in Summerlin. So we'll talk about that coming up at the bottom of the hour. Chris Reid from Kid and Play will be joining us. He's got a show this weekend. So we'll get to that coming up in hour number 3. We're talking about Diamond and Silk. We're talking about Donald Trump. We're talking about the fact that Trump called these women black leaders. I think Diamond and Silk are about as good of a leader as Donald Trump is as the president of the United States. That's just my opinion. We're talking about that, the irresponsible comments that Don Jr. made on Fox and Friends, and you're taking your calls. That's 702-257-5396. Let's start with Richard. Richard, thanks for calling in to the Vegas Take. What's going on?
Hey, what's up, Richard?
Thanks for taking the call. You really ticked me off. You're absolutely right that Rush Limbaugh shouldn't have got the Medal of Freedom. That should have gone to Steve Scalise, who took bullets and still is a congressman and still supports the president. That takes courage. I bought a brand new truck 3 years ago. 1 year ago, I put a Donald Trump bumper sticker on my truck, and I now have 2 dents my truck didn't have, and I didn't put them there.
Okay.
So don't tell me it doesn't take courage to support our president. And it takes incredible courage for African Americans to do so.
Okay, so let me respond to that. And here's my definition of courage. Scalise didn't save somebody's life. Scalise was shot by a nut job. Okay, here's my definition of courage. Okay, listen.
Right,
let me finish.
But Brian,
Let me finish.
Why was he shot by a nut job? Because he supported the president of the United States.
Okay, let me finish. My definition of courage is somebody that risks their life to save others. A firefighter, a police officer, God forbid, somebody in uniform. that risked their life for this country. Now, it's a horrible thing what happened to Scalise. And I'm sorry, sir, that somebody decided to
Scalise is risking his life by staying a congressman after he almost died. That takes courage. Getting shot didn't take courage. Staying a congressman
So would you say that...
So your definition of courage applies...
political speech. The gunner couldn't shut him up.
So what about Martin Luther King? Was he courageous?
Absolutely.
What about can you name some Democrats that you would consider courageous, that supported Democratic people for presidents that are courageous? Would you say the same thing about them?
Yes, I would.
Who? Can you name a few for us?
John F. Kennedy.
Good. Okay. So your definition of courage, sir, with all due respect, is just very different from mine. It's a horrible thing, as I said, what happened to Scalise, but I don't think it takes courage to support the President of the United States. I don't think it takes courage to put a Donald Trump bumper sticker on the back of your car. I'm sorry, I just don't.
No, I mean, Brian, if you're...
So you think you're courageous, sir? Richard, you think you're courageous for putting a Trump sticker on the back of your car? You think you're courageous? You think you're courageous? You're not courageous at all.
If your property is at risk or if your health is at risk, then there's definitely an element of courage there.
A joke.
Courage only applies to you when you sign up for it and you assume the risk, like in the military, like for a fireman, et cetera, et cetera. That's fine. But Steve Scalise did take a bullet because he supported the President of the United States. And there's no, and it's not unreasonable to assume that that could definitely happen again. And this guy, if he bought a brand new truck and it has 2 dents in it because now he has a Donald Trump sticker on the back of his truck, then obviously there's some association there.
So according to your, can I ask you a question?
No, I'm not done yet. He is suffering either financially or mentally because of the fact that he supports Donald Trump. And a lot of people in Diamond and Silk are in that same conversation because they're African Americans, and it is not, it's apparently not okay for African Americans like Diamond and Silk to support Donald Trump. So they're actually risking a lot of things by doing what they're doing, and there's definitely an element of courage there. The issue that you have is that since your definition of courage is different than somebody else's, you have a problem with it. That's the whole conversation here.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure, sure.
Thank you. So your definition of courage is anybody, the millions of people in this country that support Donald Trump. What has Scalise done that is any different than anybody else? He supports the President of the United States.
Brian,
what's your definition?
I didn't say anybody.
Well,
I said if you support Donald Trump right now in the United States,
you're courageous,
and
that's a joke.
Again, and you
that's an embarrassing comment.
And you openly support it, whether it's having a flag in your front yard, whether it's having
that's courage. That's courage.
Whether it's having a sticker on the back of your truck, whether it's wearing a wearing a MAGA hat or a MAGA shirt.
So wearing a MAGA hat is all of a sudden courageous.
You are opening yourself up to legitimate criticism. Possible financial problems. I mean, there's a lot of things that you're risking.
That's very courageous.
That you're risking at this
wearing
point.
a Trump hat is so courageous.
And a lot of that has to do with the fact that the media
God forbid a liberal calls you a name. Oh my God!
I didn't say that. No, this guy's not talking about getting called a name. Steve Scalise was shot. This
guy is calling himself.
Has had some damage to his vehicle. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, he's very courageous for having that Trump bumper sticker on the back of his truck. It's very courageous.
I'm not saying that he is courageous. I'm saying
that's what that guy's saying.
That's fine.
He's saying he's got courage. He's courageous.
Now. I'm not talking. He's not talking. I'm talking. I'm saying that there is some risk assumed when you do those things, Brian, and you can't deny that.
That's very courageous. You're right. It's very courageous to wear that MAGA hat. You're so. You know what? More than even a man and woman in uniform, or a police officer, or a firefighter. Let's call those people in Alabama courageous for having those Trump flags up there on their truck.
I did not say that police officers or firefighters or the military.
All right, we got to get to some more calls.
Are on any different, are less courageous or on the same level as, but I'm saying there's definitely risk associated when you do those things in this United States of America.
I got into my car today and I drove to work, so I suppose that was courageous too, because I could have gotten into a car accident. I could have died. So I'm a very courageous person for getting into a helicopter or a plane, because something bad could happen to me.
That has nothing to do with your political affiliation, Brian.
Holy smokes. So apparently if there's any risk involved in what you do in life, it's courageous. If I wear a MAGA hat, if I say that I'm Jewish, if I get into my car and I drive to the supermarket, it's courageous, because there is a chance that something could happen to me. Probably the same chance that something could happen to you physically if you're wearing a MAGA hat.
The definition of courage.
I'm sorry, we disagree. Let's take
yours is different, and you're choosing to literally make fun of, and demean everybody else who doesn't have the same definition as
No,
you,
that's
which
not-
Brian,
no.
honestly, is kind of pathetic.
No, that's not what I'm doing. I'm not
oh,
pathetic.
You
I'm not pathetic at all.
absolutely are being
You know
a
what's
little,
pathetic?
a little pathetic
You know
right
what?
now.
You know what? Okay, let me respond to
by
that.
making the fact that
All right,
since
I
your
won't.
definition
Let's take some more
isn't the
calls.
exact same as somebody else's.
No, I agree with you,
That
JD.
you have to make fun of them and demean them.
I agree.
All this guy is saying,
a Trump
and all,
bumper
and all-
sticker is
and all I'm
courageous.
saying
You're right.
is that some people right now who support Donald Trump are assuming risk.
right, we have to take
They're
some more
assuming
phone
risk
calls.
to their jobs, to their property, to a lot of
All
different
right,
things.
we have to take some more phone calls because we have 8 people that have been waiting on hold patiently. Let's go to Dan. Dan, you are next up in the Vegas take. What's going on?
What's up, Dan?
Did we lose Dan? I think we lost Dan. Line 3 would be Dan, 702-257-5396. Let's go to Dan. Dan, you are next up on the Vegas take. What's going on, my
What's
man?
up, Dan?
Hey, good morning, guys.
What's
hey,
up?
I got a couple thoughts. You know, JFK once said, ask not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country. And to me, it just seems like today's Democrats are only concerned about what the country can do for them. That's why it's all about handouts, the class warfare, and Democrats today, they need victims in order to punch their meal ticket. If there's no victims, Republicans win. That's why they always push the class warfare, racism, sexism, homophobia. And I think Donald Trump, you know, promoting Diamond and Silk, I like Diamond and Silk. I don't know if either of you have ever watched their show, but they're actually really intelligent.
Yeah, they sound
and they're
very
really
intelligent, Dan. You're right. They sound extremely, you're right. They sound extremely intelligent when they say Comey is not our homie, click, click. When they say Trump's yo president.
Again, Brian, that's part of their act. They are
We classy,
entertainers.
we classy, we sassy, but if you cross us, things may get a little nasty. They sound, you're right, Dan. They sound like scholars.
You're taking,
I appreciate the phone call.
You're taking
Yeah.
their act, which is supposed to be an act, and because it isn't highbrow, assuming that they're not intelligent human beings.
They sound like black leaders. You're absolutely right.
The issue is that they're in the process. They're kind of pandering to African Americans who they think will relate to that style, which apparently is lowbrow and unintelligent. Which could be an issue in itself, but again, they are entertainers and they're comedians. That doesn't mean they aren't smart.
Let's take some more phone calls. Let's go to Dan K. Dan K, line 4. You're on the Vegas take. What's going on?
What's up, Dan?
Hey guys, first thing I wanted to mention is about the coronavirus.
Yes, sir.
We're talking about it.
Yes, sir.
You ask any medical professional, and most of them will tell you that they know that the flu season is from October 1st to March. Sometimes the CDC extends it to April.
Mm-hmm.
Mark my words, in 3 months, this is going to all be gone.
Well, according to, we just had, okay, with all due,
I know it's because it's a deadly thing, but hey, even the Black Plague came and gone.
okay, well, sir, Dr. Judith Ford, medical director here in Nevada, would completely disagree with you.
Actually, Brian, we didn't actually ask that question.
No, I did.
No, we didn't. We did not ask the question if it was a cold weather seasonal virus. We did not ask that question.
Okay, but here's what she did say. She said in 2 months, they're not going to have a cure. They're not going to have the correct medicines in place or antibiotics. And she thinks this is going to get worse before it gets better. This is a doctor who we had on right here in Nevada. I understand what you're saying, Dan, but with all due respect, I have to take a doctor's word here over yours. I'm sure you understand.
It could be a situation where we don't have a cure for 2 years, but that does mean it's not a seasonal virus, Brian.
Okay, what I would like to mention is, yes, that's true. It is going to get worse before it gets better because people are going to still be getting it.
Mhm.
People have it now and they don't know they have it. But the
Right.
thing is, come May 1st, it's going to start dying down because it's not going to get transmitted. That doesn't mean that it's not going to, that they shouldn't be working on the vaccine.
Well, Dan, let me
Because
say
next
this.
year-
Dan, let me.
finish.
Okay,
Let me just say
go
this,
ahead,
that next
quickly.
year, in October, it could come up again.
Okay, well, Dan, let me say this. I hope you're right. I don't want innocent people to lose their lives or to get this virus. I appreciate the call, Dan, but I'm not as positive about this as you are, for lack of a better term. Let's go to Wayne. Wayne, you are next up on the Vegas take. What's going on?
Hey, what's up, Wayne?
How are you?
Good. What's up, Wayne?
Hey, I have a different point of view than about every one of you.
Okay.
I'm active duty military.
Thank you for your service, sir.
I'm assigned to Area 51 out here in the desert. This coronavirus has been around for years and years and years. It was discovered by America. We've got this problem between all these war zones and stuff. We want to withdraw. Well, we went through in Syria. Now let's turn the cards a little bit, Brian, because you're pretty intelligent as far as I'm concerned. You come up with good answers. Obama handed Iran and Syria all the wrong stuff so that somebody today like Trump can change it and make everything better. Do you follow that?
I follow it. I don't necessarily think I agree with what you're saying, but
The way our world leaders and our militaries have been breeding,
Mhm.
we don't need to exercise a large war.
What does that have to do with the coronavirus? I'm trying to understand.
Well, it has a lot to do because it's been around and China's had some serious problems they need to deal with.
Well, there's no question.
They've asked us politely.
Listen, Wayne, I understand. And there's no question that China has their issues. There's absolutely no doubt about that. But I'm not going to sit here and claim that Obama put these policies in Iran and Iraq and implemented this stuff so that Trump could do something. I don't really agree with what you're saying. While I get what you're saying, I don't agree with it. There's a difference. Let's go to Dave. Dave, you're next up on the Vegas Take. What's going on?
Hey, what's up, Dave?
Hey, man, so many topics today. You guys are cracking me up, man. Hey, Dan was right, though. While she was on, the doctor, I wish you guys would have asked her about the time period on the flu, because that's exactly, he took my thunder right there.
So here's the thing. It's a different virus. There's no absolute 100% evidence to claim that this is exactly like, the flu season and everything's going to be fine and dandy. We don't know that for sure, but we'll have her back on again, and we will ask that direct question.
That's a great question.
Yep.
Hey, and a couple other ones. You guys had so many topics, man. It was like, it just goes back. In fact, the one lady said she studied and read a lot. Hey, a part of it, if it's on the internet, you can't trust everything that you read on the internet. There's so much.
Well, that's true. I wouldn't go on. That's true.
Donald Trump Jr. did, he just pushed it to the extreme. I do believe it's a win-win if the Democrats can tank the economy and if they can somehow blame Trump for this.
No, I totally agree. That is definitely a win-win. But the thing is, it's not even a win for the Democrats. It's a win for Bernie Sanders. It's a win for the socialists.
I appreciate the phone call. Thank you for the compliment that we're cracking you up. 702
very good call.
257-5396. Simeon, you were next
Hello
up.
there, Brian and JD.
What's up, Simeon?
Yeah, it's unfortunately everything's become political. Everybody's using this to their own advantage. Not only is the president's son using it, Bloomberg is running commercials on TV saying that it's all Trump's fault,
Which is ridiculous.
Funding and all this stuff.
Which I don't agree with.
And also Pelosi, as soon as he mentioned at the beginning of the week, we have it under control, she comes out, oh, well, no, it's not under control at all. He doesn't have anything under control. So everyone's using it, and it's unfortunate.
Well, Simeon, I agree with you. Let me just say this. It should never be politicized on both sides of the aisle. I agree with you. It's disgusting. We're all Americans. We want to tackle this thing. We want to make sure that nobody loses their life. And hopefully, they can come up with, in the next several months, some sort of situation where if you do get this virus, that just like getting the flu, you can take antibiotics. But right now they don't have it. So it's a little scary, Simeon.
Yeah, it is. But it makes it worse because it's kind of
politicized.
People.
Yeah, you're right. Listen, Simeon, I got to get to some other phone calls, my friend. You're absolutely right, and I agree with you. Bloomberg should not have done that. That's completely inappropriate. I don't support Mike Bloomberg, and what he's doing is wrong. Those ads are wrong. I agree with you. Let's go to Anthony. Anthony, you are next up on the Vegas Take. What's up?
Hey, gentlemen. I wonder, I think that Republican supporters of the president kind of have to stop now, I think that when you have an organization put together by President Obama for CDC issues like this, right, by the CDC, he had a team in place. He disbanded it. Secretary Kelly warned him that if a pandemic happens, you do not have a team to defend our country against it. Kelly warned him. He was warned 3 years ago.
And Kelly's not around anymore.
Right. He's fired.
Right.
I think that we're not Republicans going to stop. This man's policies in deregulation and disbanding teams that are good for our country.
Mm-hmm.
He was warned about this. Kelly, I watched Kelly on TV say, we are not prepared for a pandemic.
Well, you know what?
Obama handled Ebola. We had a team in place for this.
Well, we got one now.
Right. I think that China was warned. The doctor that warned them 2 years ago about this virus itself died. He died.
Well, Anthony, can I just add something? And Anthony, I always good to hear from you, and I appreciate the phone call. Let me just add this.
Good call, Anthony.
Let me add this real quickly. When the president isn't even aware of how many people die every year from the flu, he's probably not the person that is the right guy for the job. That's just my personal opinion on this. He is completely ignorant to the facts when it comes to the flu, when it comes to the coronavirus.
And if you think that President Trump is not going to put together another team or to increase the CDC's budget to stop this particular virus, why would he not? Come on,
He's
Brian.
been downplaying it.
Oh,
I know
get
that.
out of here. You think he's not going to put together a team? Honestly, come on.
He already has put together a team.
Okay.
And the leader of that is Mike Pence,
but you don't think
a man who thought that smoking doesn't kill in 2000.
Again, that's totally irrelevant. You don't think that he will add more money to that team?
I don't know.
To appropriately stop the
I hope
virus?
he does. I hope he does.
Why would he not?
Because he wants to downplay it, because he thinks it's going to hurt his chance of re-election in 2020.
So you think do you think Donald Trump, considering the fact that 20% of these cases are basically fatal, especially if you're older, that Donald Trump will just kill people? Right, that's what you're basically accusing him of.
I didn't say that.
No, of course you are.
257-5396.
If he's not going to put enough, if he's not going to put the money into the programs to actually stop the disease, then you're saying that in order to guarantee his re-election, that he will let people die.
I want to get to as many
by not putting money to stop this disease that kills about 20% of the people that actually contract it.
We got
Come
eight people on hold, so I'd like to try to get to as many of them as possible because we only have about 5 minutes to go here. Let's go to Chris. Chris, you're next up on the Vegas take. What's going on?
Hey, good morning, guys. Hey, I just want to say one thing. I have to agree with JD. You were being a little bit petty about the courage thing. I'm not saying the guy put a bumper sticker on his truck was being courageous. I don't think he was trying to say that.
That's what he said.
I would ask you, do you think Rose McGowan was courageous for standing up against Harvey Weinstein? It wouldn't meet your definition, but I think everybody would think that she was courageous, right? Other people.
Well, let me answer your question. I think any woman that is the victim of rape, incest, sexual assault that speaks out about it is courageous.
Okay,
yes, I do.
Okay, so you don't think someone that has personal discrimination predicated on their political affiliation is a little bit courageous? Not to the level of a fireman or someone who's in the army or someone who signed up for it, but someone who simply who has a lot of their things are compromised or are at risk because of their political affiliation. You don't think there's some? It takes a little bit of courage to do something like that, Brian.
I want to get to the calls, but I will go and say this: I don't throw that word courageous around very often unless it's
okay. So it's like the L word.
I don't
in a relationship for you.
I don't throw the word courageous around unless I think somebody deserves it. No, putting a Trump bumper sticker on the back of your car or wearing a MAGA hat, there's nothing courageous about that. Let's get back to the phone calls. Let's go to Ron. Ron, you're next up on the Vegas take. What's going on?
What's up, Ron?
Good morning, gentlemen.
Yes, sir.
BS, let me tell you something, buddy. You finally did it this morning. About 10 phone calls ago, you ran off on that guy just like somebody with ADD, Polaris, polar, bipolar. I mean, there's something wrong with your brain.
Okay, thank you for the phone call, Ron. I'm going to run away from you. Let's go to Tom.
Hey, really good call, Ron.
Tom, you are next up on the Vegas take. What's going on?
What's up, Tom?
Hi, guys. I was just wondering who Brian is claiming said that the left created the coronavirus.
I didn't say that.
Yes, you did.
I said that somebody on the left is claiming that. What? I don't even know what you're asking me. What are you asking me?
I thought I understood you to say that people on the right are claiming that the left created the coronavirus.
Sure. Let's go to Don Jr. today. Don Jr. on Fox and Friends this morning, in an interview, said that he believes that they want to try to take a pandemic and seemingly hope that it comes here and kills millions of people so that Donald Trump's streak of winning ends.
That's not creating.
Okay. Oh, I didn't say that.
The coronavirus.
I didn't say that. I never said that. I don't know where you're getting that quote from. No, I didn't.
You said that earlier today.
No, I didn't.
Yes, you did.
Okay. Thank you for the call, Tom. We appreciate
Brian,
it.
let me ask you
Let's
this.
go to Jay. We got a lot of people on hold. We have 4 minutes.
Okay. Fine. I have one question.
Quickly, please.
Say you were homosexual in the 1970s when you were totally discriminated against for being homosexual, and you march in a gay parade. Does that require courage? Are you courageous under those circumstances?
I'll answer that on the other side of the break
fine.
because I'd like to take some more phone calls. Let's go to Jay. Jay, you're next up on the Vegas take. What's going on?
Hi, good morning. Thanks for the call.
Yes, sir.
The call.
Sure, no problem.
Quick points. The gentleman that talked about the bumper sticker on his, he agrees with his first point that Rush Limbaugh should not have received the Presidential Medal of Freedom.
We all agree.
He doesn't take into consideration who gave it to him and what were the self-serving reasons why he gave it to him.
Exactly. Good point. Exactly.
Separately, since Trump became president, Erdogan, Duterte, Putin, Kim Jong-un, those names have all become part of the American lexicon, whereas the Democratic world leaders, Germany, Canada, France, England, they laugh at Trump. They ridicule him behind his back.
Mm-hmm. No, you're right, and there's actually audio, Jay, and video to actually prove that. So you're 100% right. Let's go to Joel. Joel, you are next up on the Vegas take. What's going on?
What's up, Joel?
Brian, you had mentioned that what Don Jr., or who I like to call Skippy, his stupid statement.
Yeah.
Why is that a surprise when his own father
Yeah.
made stupid statements the other day saying that he believed it was the Democrat debate that caused the market crash?
Well, Joel, let me be very clear. I'm not really surprised. You're right. I'm just pointing it out on what an idiot Don Jr. is. And the
Imbecile is the word I would use.
well, yeah. I mean, the moronic comments that he made this morning, Joel, listen, make no mistake about it. I'm not surprised. This guy's never accomplished anything in his life, Don Jr. He is a moron. And the fact that, Brian Kilmeade asked him the question and he didn't actually ask him a follow-up to it is disgusting. I got about 30 seconds for Dan. Dan, I'm sorry. I'm up against a hard break, my fan, but you've been waiting patiently on hold. Go ahead.
What's up, Dan?
Hey, good morning. I wanted to talk about, I don't know who the liberal guy is, but I'd like to talk
Not a liberal.
to him about.
Okay, I'm not a liberal.
Today he is.
No, I'm not a liberal, Dan.
Today he's extra left-winger.
I voted for Mitt Romney. I voted for John McCain.
Today he's Chris Wynn-esque liberal.
Well, I think you have a little bit of problem with racism that you don't realize.
No, I don't.
And
no, I don't.
Well, just hear me out on this.
You've got 20 seconds. Go.
Yeah, just because Diamond and Silk use colorful language has nothing to do with their intelligence.
I think if you have, no, let me just stop you. Let me just stop you. Let me just stop you. Let me just stop you right there. I told you you got 20 seconds. You started off the conversation by saying something idiotic that I'm a liberal. I'm not a liberal. So that's where the conversation ends. Coming up next, Oakland A's General Manager Dave Force. Take a quick break. Be back right after this.
Call and learn your best price from nearly a dozen highly rated price competitive companies. Well, that's exactly what happens when you call SelectQuote Life. For example, George is 40. He was getting sky-high quotes from other companies because he takes meds to control his blood pressure. But when I shopped around, I found him a 10-year, $500,000 policy for under $25 a month. I'm SelectQuote agent Dan Savino. And believe me, if SelectQuote isn't shopping for your life insurance, you're probably paying too much.
For your free quote, call 800-244-6060. That's 800-244-6060. 800-244-6060. Or go to SelectQuote.com. Since 1985, we shop, you save.
Get full details on the example policy at SelectQuote.com/commercials. Or price could vary depending on your health, issuing company, and other factors. Not available in all states.
Mick Mulvaney says concern about the coronavirus is being driven by a desire to defeat President Trump. He says the administration is on top of the health crisis.
It looks like this disease is someplace between 1% and 2% fatal. Is that serious? It absolutely is. There's no question about it.
Investors are anxious and uncertain about what the future holds for the virus. That's driving stocks down for a 7th straight session. Correspondent Allison Cossack says Wall Street is dizzy from the free fall.
Heads are still spinning about that 1,200-point drop on the Dow, not just because of the amount of points it dropped, but because of the speed at which it took for the Dow to go from a record high to a correction yesterday. It took just 10 trading sessions.
The head of the World Health Organization says the window of opportunity to contain the virus is closing. Several more nations report their first cases today. The Dow down about 630. I'm Mike Morse.
It's time to check the roads.
From the Lerner and Rowe Traffic Studio.
This report sponsored by Upwork, when you need in-demand talent on demand. The crash on the 215 Southern Beltway eastbound at Buffalo, a cement truck that dropped over on its side. It's not blocking, it's off to the right, but it's still causing some slowing out of the Durango curve to Buffalo, and then the pattern breaks free. Now, crash reported 95, southbound approaching Las Vegas Boulevard. Vehicles off to the right. Expect slowing from the Spaghetti Bowl. Upwork has the largest network of independent professionals like designers, developers, data scientists, you name it. When you need in-demand talent on demand, Upwork is how. John Michaels from the KDON Traffic Center.
If your retirement plan is on set it and forget it, it's time to take control. Tune in for Financial Safari with America's Wealth Coach and best-selling author, Coach Pete D'Arruda. For more than 25 years, Coach Pete has been helping people just like you plan for retirement. Join Coach Pete every week as he discusses topics like why your retirement plan should also be an income plan, and how to make sure you're getting the most out of your 401k.
Financial Safari with Coach Pete, Saturday morning at 10 a.m. and Sunday afternoon at 2 on 101.5 FM, 720 a.m. KDON.
If you're one of the millions of Americans who owes back taxes, if you get nervous when the mail comes because you might get a letter from the IRS, then you've heard. Their enforcement agents are cracking down this year and can garnish your paycheck, levy your bank accounts. Even your home or business could be at risk over unpaid taxes. It's all true, but it's also true there's a way out. It's called the Fresh Start Initiative, an important government program for tax debt assistance. The award-winning experts at Optima Tax Relief will fight to get you the best deal possible, protecting your paycheck and your assets from IRS collections. But don't delay, because the IRS is tacking on interest and hefty penalties every single day. So don't wait until it's too late. Call Optima now for a free consultation.
Call 800-375-2922. 800-375-2922. 800-375-2922.
Optima Tax Relief.
Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
Mark Levin, weekdays 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. Now back to the Vegas Take on 101.5 FM, 720 a.m. KDON.
All right, welcome back. It is the Vegas Take. Sharp and Shapiro switching topics. Who doesn't love baseball, right? And who doesn't love spring training? Well, guess what? We got the Oakland A's in town. It's great because, as you know, the AAA affiliate plays in the best ballpark in all of minor league baseball right here in our backyard in Summerlin. And the A's are in town, and they're going to be playing a couple games over the weekend against the Cleveland Indians, some great spring training baseball. And the guy we have with us on the line right now happens to be the general manager of the Oakland A's. He is David Forst. David, thank you so much for joining us. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me, guys, and looking forward to coming into town tonight.
Yeah, I appreciate that. What do you think about, obviously you've had a chance to check out this ballpark, I would imagine. What are your thoughts on this ballpark? It really is a state-of-the-art facility, isn't it?
It's beautiful. They did an incredible job. Don Logan and his folks over there, have been in the game a long time. They built a beautiful park. Last year was our first year in there, obviously, and our players couldn't say enough good things about the facility, about Summerlin, about the way the community embraced them. So it's been great for us.
I have to, and we'll get back to the ballpark and, of course, the games this weekend, but I have to ask, what is it like, in the footsteps of Billy Beane, obviously a legend in this business? What is it like, taking over after him?
It's been great. I've worked with Billy now. This is my 21st year with the A's, working alongside Billy, and we have a great partnership and friendship, really. So I've learned from him every step of the way, and we split things up these days, and it's that's why I've stayed with the A's as long as I have, is the ability to work next to Billy.
No question, yeah. And I had a chance to meet Billy for the first time last year. He came here taking a look at the ballpark, certainly a class act and a legend in this business. So I have to ask you a question about something that is kind of in the news. I'm sure you've heard of it. That would be the Houston Astros and the cheating.
I'm familiar with that team. Yeah.
Yeah. So as you know, Mike Fears was greeted with cheers before his first spring training start. He's, as you would call, the whistleblower. But now, we've learned that your organization actually made some complaints about this Houston Astros scandal way before Mike did. Can you talk to me a little bit about that and what's transpired there?
Yeah, I mean, we made a call in 2018 to alert Major League Baseball to some of the things we thought were going on, and they looked into it at the time, and nothing came of it. But obviously, it took Mike coming out publicly saying what he did last November to kind of launch this investigation, and ultimately what we were all looking for was an even playing field and just making sure everybody was doing things by the book. So, it's been a rough off season a little bit for baseball in terms of some of the attention, but hopefully it makes the game better going forward.
I have to ask you this, David, and I know, nobody on your ball club has been accused of cheating, thank goodness. But with that being said, if somebody on your team, a player I'm talking about, was cheating in one way or another, wouldn't you want that player to be held accountable?
Brian, actually, one of those players, Frankie Montas, was. He one of the A's, one of their best pitchers, was suspended for 80 games for PED. Now, David, that would certainly bother me, knowing that some of the Astros players clearly cheated and nothing happened to them. But, for example, an up-and-coming star like a Frankie Montas gets 80 games. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, I mean, obviously there are penalties in place for things like PED use and other transgressions. This was a unique situation where the commissioner made the ruling he did in order ultimately to kind of get to the bottom of things. So I think there are a lot of people around the game who wonder, should the players themselves have been punished? Would we have ultimately gotten to the bottom of things the way they did if they hadn't told the players ahead of time they wouldn't? So I think those were questions the commissioner answered, and ultimately, like I said, those of us who work in the game, who've sort of dedicated our lives to this, what we want what's best for the game, and hopefully that's what we've got going forward.
So, David, you hear from some people that baseball should police it itself, that players should police it itself, and you've heard that some pitchers should tag some of these guys at the plate. I certainly don't agree with that. What do you make of all that?
There's no room for that in this game. I mean, that's a black and white one for me. There's no gray area here. You don't throw at players intentionally in this situation or any, frankly, and that's something Billy and I have talked to Bob Melvin about over the years and tried to stress with our pitchers. I mean, that's a dangerous thing when guys are out there throwing as hard as they are these days with the baseball ultimately becomes a weapon. So no, I don't think there's any place for that versus the Astros or anybody.
So we had an attorney on representing a pitcher, and he is suing the Houston Astros. He got roughed up in a game. He claims that it hurt his career. I'm sure you've heard about this story. Do you think that sets a dangerous precedence, or do you think some of these pitchers and some of these players actually have a case that it could have hurt their career because these batters at the plate knew exactly what type of pitch and what location where the ball was going to go? I mean, what do you make of that, and what do you make of this lawsuit, and do you agree with it? Do you disagree with it? What's your opinion on that?
I'm familiar with Bolsinger's lawsuit. I'm pretty familiar with Mike Bolsinger's career, frankly. He's someone that we've followed and talked to at times about potentially signing. I am not a lawyer, so I can't tell you the merits of the case and whether there's he has standing or not. But I do know and hearing from players who are upset and think it's affected their career. And to those guys, you say, hey, whatever you think is necessary, sure, give it a shot. I do know that part of the reason behind Mike Fiers coming out the way he did was because he was frustrated by how younger players were being their careers were being affected, and guys were either being sent down or viewed a certain way based on their results in Houston. And obviously that's the case with Bolsinger. And if he feels that way, then who am I to say he can't pursue it in any way possible?
So Rob Manfred comes out and calls the World Series trophy a piece of metal. I was completely shocked that someone in his position would do that. Were you surprised by that? And have your players responded to that statement at all?
Well, Rob responded pretty quickly to that one and realized that he misspoke. I think when he was out here in Arizona last week and met with the media, he responded to what some of the players had said and realized that it was not a fair way to discuss the trophy. And clearly, winning the World Series is what we're all in this to do.
Right.
And the players take that seriously. And again, I don't have to put words in Rob's mouth. He came out and said that was not an appropriate way to speak about that title.
If you're just joining us, we're speaking with David Forst. He is the general manager of the Oakland A's. Okay, David, we can move on to some more fun things to talk about other than the cheating scandal. Listen, baseball is huge here in Las Vegas, as you know, and you've spent time in Las Vegas. We've talked about this brand new ballpark. What are your thoughts on I know it's speculation at this point, of eventually Major League Baseball coming to Las Vegas? Do you see it happening at some point down the road? What are your opinions on that?
Yeah, I think the official stance of the league has really softened over the years. When I first started here, I don't think anybody in the central office would have said there was a chance to bring baseball to Vegas. But I do think with the success of the NHL, obviously our neighbors in the Coliseum heading your way this summer, and I think they've seen the possibilities. And obviously Major League Baseball now has relationship with some of the companies there, including with a big deal with MGM. So I think it has softened over the years, and I think Rob has said it's a possibility. So I know there's been a lot of speculation about our club specifically, but we're committed to staying in Oakland. But I wouldn't say that an expansion team at some point is out of the question.
I want to talk to you a little bit about your career because I find it fascinating. You've been very loyal with the Oakland A's, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. This is your 18th season with the A's.
Actually, coming up on my 21st here.
Oh my God!
Yeah.
Wow, so you've been, and you're in your early 40s, David. I mean, this is incredible. You're the general manager of a ball club, Major League Baseball ball club. Early 40s is pretty young to have that type of position. Yet you have an incredible resume. This is pretty cool. I mean, talk a little bit about that. Do you ever have to pinch yourself and say, "Whoa"? I'm not that I'm saying you're not deserving of it. You're like I said, your resume is incredible. But just talk a little bit about that. At your age, in your early 40s, that's young to be put in this position.
Yeah, I appreciate it, and I was very fortunate early on. I played a little bit after college, and then as I was looking for a job, was lucky to get in with the A's, and we mentioned Billy before, but get in an organization where it was a small operation. I was exposed to a lot of things early on. Billy and Paul DePodesta, who was the assistant GM at the time, let me do a lot of things that other 22-year-olds don't get to do. And it's been great. I've loved the Bay Area. I've loved this organization. Ownership's been very loyal to us. And I'm thrilled that I've been able to stay in one place for the last couple decades.
Okay, I have to ask you, how many times have you seen the movie Moneyball?
Ooh, man, it's on cable a lot. So I catch 15 to 20 minutes of it quite a bit.
I mean, is that movie real? Like, have you talked to Billy about that? I mean, is it pretty realistic to what actually took place there?
Yeah, I mean, look, I was here in 2002. I was kind of a fly on the wall when Michael Lewis was embedded with us and wrote the book. And, the book did a great job of telling a story, basically. I mean, that's what Michael does so well. He's an incredible storyteller, and, he's gone on to write about much bigger and more important things than the Oakland A's. But he told a great story. And then, as anything in Hollywood does, it takes some liberties and kind of creates a story. But there's a lot of things in that movie that did actually happen. It's I'm still never going to live down that Billy had Brad Pitt portray him on screen. No, it's fun. It's a nice reminder of what ultimately was a really good time for us. We went to the playoffs 4 years in a row, my first 4 years here.
So I wanted to ask you a question about this year's Oakland A's. What player are you most excited about coming up for our fans or for the fans of the A's that are listening to the show right now? What player, in your opinion, do you think is going to have the biggest improvement or impact as far as an up-and-comer for this upcoming season?
A lot of the focus has been on our starting pitching and a couple of the young arms, AJ Puck and Jesus Luzardo, both of whom came through Las Vegas ballpark last year at various times. If we can get full, healthy seasons out of those two guys in our rotation, that's kind of always been the key for us here is pitching. And when we send someone out every night who has a chance to go 6-7 innings and win a game for us, that's really when our team's been at its best. So, this year's a little different for us. We've gotten to keep most of our team together from 2019, which isn't always the case. And, a great position player group headlined by Matt Chapman, Matt Olson, Marcus Semien. But we always sort of live and die by the pitching. And those two guys who, like I said, spent some time in Vegas last year, hopefully spend a full, healthy season with us in Oakland and make the difference this year.
I guess one of my final questions for you, David, you've said you spent some time here in Las Vegas. What are your favorite spots to go to, maybe a favorite casino? Where do you hang out here when you come out here to Las Vegas?
I have spent a lot of time. My dad actually, when I was growing up, was an analyst in the gaming business, and we spent a lot of time in Vegas. I remember being 16 years old, driving from LA and spending time at Circus Circus. I'm a little partial now to the Bellagio, just because we've had the meetings there a couple times. I have a really close friend who's a professor over at UNLV, a college teammate of mine, Bo Bernhard, and he takes me around whenever I'm in town. So I have a lot of great memories of going there growing up and always enjoy the chance to get into town.
Well, I'll tell you what, David, you got a pretty great AAA general manager here, and you have a great franchise here that that certainly helps your ball club. And as you said, the state-of-the-art facility here is unbelievable. A lot of positives. I'm sure you would agree to helping your ball club. And I really hope that I look forward to meeting you this weekend. And I really hope that we can have you on again at some point down the road, maybe mid-season. Thank you so much for your time. We really do appreciate it.
No, thanks for having me on. It's going to be a great weekend. Look forward to seeing all the baseball fans out at the ballpark, and hopefully some more big league guys put on a show for us.
And the weather is supposed to be perfect, David. So that's also a positive, no question. Sometimes that's a question in spring training, depending on where you're at. But you're not going to have to worry about that here. Again, David Force, thank you so much for your time.
Great. See you guys over the weekend.
All right. Look forward to meeting you. There you go. David Force, the
Thanks a lot, David.
general manager of the Oakland A's, joining us. And we got a lot of sports to get to. Starting next week, of course, we got all these college basketball tournaments in town, the West Coast Conference, the Mountain West Conference, the WAC, the Pac-12. We have Major League Baseball. The Cleveland Indians and the Oakland A's are in town starting this weekend. And then next weekend, we've got the Reds in town with the Chicago Cubs. It's absolutely incredible. We'll take a quick break, and we'll be back right after this. You are listening to the Vegas Take right here on the all-new 101.5 FM, 720 AM, KDON.
Can a tree change a life? At Trees for the Future, we believe trees make all the difference in the fight against poverty, hunger, and climate change. Through a proven permaculture method called the Forest Garden Approach, Trees for the Future has positively impacted over 26,000 farmers and their children. Are you ready to leave a lasting impact on the world? Find out how to plant seeds of hope this season at trees.org/radio. That's trees.org/radio.
When Allstate agents and employees go to work every day, their number one priority is protecting what matters most to you. For military veterans, that instinct to protect also comes naturally. No wonder thousands of veterans build good careers with Allstate. And now, Allstate is ranked the number one employer on the 2020 Military Friendly Employers list. You're in good hands with Allstate.
For career opportunities or to get a quote, contact Allstate today. Allstate Fire and Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates, Northbrook, Illinois.
Adopt US Kids presents What to Expect When You're Expecting. A teenager. Learning the lingo.
Today I'm going to help parents translate teen slang. Now, when a teen says something is on fleek, it's exactly like saying, that's rad. It simply means that something is awesome or cool. Another one is totes. It's exactly like saying, totally, just shorter. As in, I totes love going to the mall with Becca. Another word you might hear is jelly. Jelly is a shorter, better way to say jealous. As in, Chloe, I am like so jelly of your unicorn phone case.
You don't have to speak teen to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will think you're, rad just the same. To learn more, visit adoptuskids.org. A public service announcement brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
My son is a handsome young man, like a movie star. There's no limit to what he can do. I don't know why he would ruin himself with alcohol. When I think about the happy boy he used to be and how sad his life is now, it breaks my heart. I love him as much as I ever did, maybe more, but I don't understand why this is happening. My therapist recommended I go to Al-Anon family groups. He said Al-Anon members have lived through the same kinds of things that are happening to my family. I didn't want to go to Al-Anon, and I didn't want anyone to know how difficult it's been. But I'm glad I went. Is someone's drinking breaking your heart? You might be surprised at what you can learn in an Al-Anon family group from people just like you. Call 1-888-4-AL-ANON or go to alanon.org.
Mark Levin, weekdays 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. Now back to the Vegas Take on 101.5 FM, 720 AM, KDON.
All right, welcome back. It is the Vegas Take, Sharp and Shapiro. Coming up here in just a few minutes. It's going to be a lot of fun. I grew up watching this guy on the big screen, listening to his music. We remember the band Kid and Play. Chris Reid is half of Kid and Play, and he's going to be joining us in studio here coming up in just a few minutes. He's going to be at Downtown Grant doing some stand-up comedy, so we'll be talking to him coming up here in just a few. Haven't talked a lot about Joe Biden recently. He looks like he's probably going to win South Carolina. I don't think that's going to be a surprise, so he's making a comeback. Do you remember, JD, when we covered this story when he said he got arrested in South Africa? And we were questioning that, and we were like, did he really get arrested? Why is he not being asked about that in some of these debates? Well, guess what? It turns out he was not arrested in South Africa, and now he's backtracking on his statements. He kind of reversed course today. This happened earlier this morning. Now he's claiming that he was not arrested. Instead, he said that he was simply stopped and not allowed to move where I wanted to go, he said, in this Nelson Mandela situation. He said, when I said arrested, I meant I was not able to move. Cops would not let me go with them and made me stay where I was. I guess I wasn't arrested. I was stopped. I was not able to move where I wanted to go. Mr. Vice President, when you're running for the President of the United States, you don't say you were arrested when you weren't arrested. It's pretty simple. That's a lie. Joe Biden, you lied. I'm not going to defend him here. This is not a gap. This is a lie. This is wrong. Nobody should lie when they're running for office. Nobody should lie when they are in office.
Also, as Vice President of the United States, when you're in a country that isn't the United States, you're probably not going to have the right to just move freely wherever you want to go. And if that right is taken away from you, without considering the fact that you're actually in the country that you aren't the vice president of, that should not be in your mind the same thing as being arrested, because they're not even remotely the same thing.
Well, it's a lie. Let's just call it for what it is. Joe Biden lied. Now, listen, I'll defend him on this, right? He's an older guy, and when he's on the debate stage, he says 150 million people have died at the hands of gun violence in this country. That's half of the U.S. population.
That's about 47% of the population of the United States.
Can we all agree that he didn't mean to say that?
He isn't a math genius.
It's not even that he's a math genius.
You don't think so?
He meant to say 150,000.
Oh.
It was. Now, that's a gaffe. Can we agree? That's not a lie. He made a mistake.
Okay, what about when he says, I'm running for Senator of the United States, like he did in South Carolina?
Well, again, that's a gaffe.
Is that a gaffe or is that
obvious?
A lie?
Well, of course he didn't mean to say that.
Do you think
he's
that
not
maybe,
running for senator.
Do you think that maybe he's assuming that he's going to lose the election and then he'll just run for senator?
There's a difference.
He's just looking into the future. He's actually smarter than we give him credit for.
JD, there's a difference between a gaffe and a lie. Okay, do you know the guy who does the 11th hour? What's his name? Brian Williams on MSNBC. That guy was the #1 anchor on the planet for a period of time. And then guess what he did? He did more than just embellish. He lied. He said bullets were whizzing by him when he was covering the war. It was a lie. And now his show is called The 11th Hour, and he's, in the back burner. That's why they call it The 11th Hour. He lied. He embellished and he lied. That's exactly what Joe Biden did here. Make no mistake about it. Joe Biden lied. Don't say you got arrested when you didn't get arrested. And when these Democrats want to go after Donald Trump, who does lie on a regular basis, guess what? You can't attack Donald Trump for lying when you do the exact same thing. Now, maybe not at the level that Donald Trump does it at. He knew he wasn't arrested. This isn't a gap. Joe Biden knew, and maybe it's true. Maybe it's true.
And he did this because he was in South Carolina. South Carolina has a relatively large African-American population, and he wanted to relate to the African-Americans in South Carolina by saying, yeah, I actually was arrested for Nelson Mandela, a fellow African who was, one of the most prominent members of the entire continent.
But JD, I'm sure you would agree, no matter what his reasoning was, it's wrong.
Well, obviously.
Yeah, I mean, I don't care what his reasoning is.
But it makes it a little more wrong considering he was trying to pander by doing it.
It's a lie, and he's embellishing to try to make himself, look better, look stronger, look tougher, whatever the case may be. It's wrong. There should be no place for this in politics. And let me tell you something else. I'm not defending him when it comes to this stuff, but I'm also not going to defend this anti-Biden ad that is currently running in South Carolina. And even Barack Obama has gotten involved in this, and he's saying this ad should be taken down. So I want you to have a listen to this ad. I might be wrong, but I believe it's Bloomberg that is pushing this ad. It's an anti-Biden ad, again, running in South Carolina. Have a listen to this.
Joe Biden promised to help our community. It was a lie. Here's President Obama.
Plantation politics, black people in the worst jobs, the worst housing, police brutality rampant. But when the so-called black committeemen came around election time, we'd all line up and vote the straight Democratic ticket. Sell our souls for a Christmas turkey.
Enough. Joe Biden won't represent us, defend us, or help us. Don't believe Biden's empty promises. The Committee to Defend the President paid for and is responsible for the content of this message.
Okay, so Obama has said this ad needs to be taken down for this reason. When he said the term plantation politics, he was not referring to Joe Biden. That was not in regards to Joe Biden. And if you do some research on this, it was completely taken out of context. And if you noticed, he did not mention Joe Biden. But yet they're trying to correlate. It's disgusting. They're trying to correlate Barack Obama accusing Joe Biden of racist policies and politics, plantation, using the term plantation. It's disgusting. And Obama has stayed away. If you notice, in the last year or two, really since he left office, he hasn't really made comments about Donald Trump. He hasn't made comments about the Democratic Party. He stayed away.
Well, he's made some comments about Trump.
He hasn't been outspoken.
But what he
about
hasn't
things.
done is he has not endorsed Joe Biden yet. And we asked his wife, Jill Biden, about that when she was on the show. But Tim Kaine did just endorse Joe Biden today.
Mm-hmm. Well, nobody really cares about him.
They kind of do.
No,
he was up there.
Yeah. But Barack Obama's at a whole nother level, the former president. But going back to this ad, Barack Obama has now spoken out, and rightfully so. He's now involved in this anti-Joe Biden ad that's running in South Carolina. By the way, I do think that Biden is going to win South Carolina regardless. But the people that are putting these ads together, it's just utterly disgusting. You know, it'd be the same thing like if the Democrats put together an ad, you know, say Bernie Sanders is running against Donald Trump. And you attack Melania Trump. And you said something like, they don't even sleep in the same bed. You know, I would say that's inappropriate. Might be true, inappropriate. There are certain things you just shouldn't do in an ad. There are certain lines you just shouldn't cross. You shouldn't go after someone's family. If you're running against Joe Biden, you shouldn't talk about Hunter Biden. You shouldn't talk about family members. You should go on record the things that Joe Biden said. If you want to run an anti-Joe Biden ad, I have no problem with you running an ad saying, well, Joe Biden said he was arrested in South Africa. Here's what he said a week later. You caught Joe Biden in a lie. I have absolutely no problem with you exposing him for that and putting it in an ad, right? That would be completely fair. But this plantation politics statement that Barack Obama made, he was not talking about Joe Biden. It's completely irrelevant to Joe Biden. It's wrong. It's not cool. And I agree with Barack Obama. It should never be a part of politics today, some of this dirty stuff that's going on. Never. It's idiotic and it's wrong. And it can't happen. All right, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, I got to tell you, man, I grew up with Kid and Play. I love these guys. These guys were on the big screen. They were in all these movies, their music, hit songs. It was awesome. I remember those house party movies. Those house party movies were great. Class Act is one of my favorite comedies of the 90s. So Chris Reid is half of Kid and Play. He's Kid. He's going to be joining us next in studio. He's got a show coming up at the Downtown Grand. So we'll get to that coming up next in studio. Take a break. Be back right after this.
Your home for Sean Hannity, KDWN Las Vegas, KKLZ HD2 Las Vegas, a Beasley Media Group station.
Local virus response. Worldwide concern grows. I'm Mike Moss. States are starting to take steps to try to deal with local concerns about the coronavirus. Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker.
We are beginning voluntary testing at select hospitals to gather statistics on the presence of the virus in our communities. And we'll be extending that effort to our other partner hospitals statewide.
The World Health Organization is raising its level of concern.
The continued increase in the number of cases and the number of affected countries over the last few days are clearly of concern.
The WHO now says the coronavirus outbreak, though not a pandemic, is an area of serious and growing concern. Lawmakers were briefed behind closed doors today, and Democrat Pramila Jayapal says she was disappointed.
This is potentially an enormous issue for the country, and I do not think we're prepared.
Stocks are falling around the world again. Correspondent Allison Cossack is on Wall Street.
Anxiety is just gripping Wall Street and continues. You know, we did see some relief in the pre-market trading when an idea was floated of some sort of global coordinated central bank action that could happen over the weekend, i.e. a rate cut. But that relief looks like it has fizzled out.
California Congressman John Garamendi says a patient who tested positive for the coronavirus without any link to exposure is in serious condition and intubated. A federal appeals court has temporarily halted the Trump administration policy to make asylum seekers wait in Mexico while their cases wide through U.S. immigration courts. The same court decided to keep another major change on hold, the one that denies asylum to anyone who enters the U.S. illegally from Mexico. On Wall Street, the Dow was down 917, S&P down 88 points. I'm Mike Moss.
It's time to check the roads.
From the Lerner and Rowe Traffic Studio.
This report sponsored by Upwork, when you need in-demand talent on demand. The crash on the 215 Southern Beltway eastbound at Buffalo, a cement truck that dropped over on its side. And it's not blocking, it's off to the right, but it's still causing some slowing out of the Durango curve to Buffalo, and then the pattern breaks free. Now, crash reported 95, southbound approaching Las Vegas Boulevard. Vehicles off to the right. Expect slowing from the Spaghetti Bowl. Upwork has the largest network of independent professionals like designers, developers, data scientists, you name it. When you need in-demand talent on demand, Upwork is how. John Michaels from the KDON Traffic Center.
It's open enrollment season, and Medishare is the Christian healthcare sharing ministry that saves most families about $500 a month. Google Medishare and see if it's a fit for you. Medishare, healthcare you can believe in. Transform your bathroom in just one day with the experts at Reborn Bath Solutions. Reborn Bath Solutions has been serving Las Vegas for over 3 decades, and right now they're offering 50% off all labor and 1 full year with no interest and no payments. You can't beat that. Make your appointment online today at rebornbathsolutions.com, and they'll give you a $50 Bed Bath & Beyond gift card just for considering them. 50% off labor, 1 full year of no interest and no payments, plus a $50 Bed Bath & Beyond gift card. What are you waiting for? Reborn Bath Solutions. They bring the showroom to you with free in-home appointments at your convenience. Visit rebornbathsolutions.com today. That's rebornbathsolutions.com. Take advantage of this amazing offer. 50% off all labor, 1 full year of no interest and no payments, plus a $50 Bed Bath & Beyond gift card. Reborn Bath Solutions, where it's done right and done in a day.
Eric's IRS troubles were nasty.
I had 10 years of unpaid tax returns. I owed a ton of money in taxes. I started getting letters.
And unbelievably complex.
Things that are written in the tax code are so complicated that if you don't pay a tax professional to do your taxes, you're going to screw up. This was such a complex problem, I did not think anybody could solve it.
Eric's whole life was about to go down the drain. So he called Optima Tax Relief.
Optima was able to make sense out of a huge disaster, and Optima stopped it.
To say the least, Eric was very relieved.
They got me out of hot water, that's for sure. Optima saved me a boatload of money and got me out of a horribly complex situation. A huge relief and a huge weight lifted off my shoulders.
Got a nasty, confusing tax problem? Do what Eric did and call Optima right now for a free consultation. Call 800-375-2922. 800-375-2922. 800-375-2922.
Optima Tax Relief.
Testimonial from an actual client. Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
Mark Levin, weekdays 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. Now back to the Vegas Take on 101.5 FM, 720 AM. KDON. The opinions of the hosts on KDWN are their own and do not necessarily reflect the views of this station, its management, or Beasley Media Group. Right now, the day's biggest news stories from a Vegas perspective. This is the Vegas Take with Sharp and Shapiro.
All right, welcome back. It is the Vegas Take, Sharp and Shapiro. Glad you could join us on a Friday. You have a lot of choices, a lot of different shows you could go to over the course of really any night in Las Vegas. And the guy we have with us in studio right now, man, I grew up with this guy. We all remember the House Party movies. Class Act is one of my favorite comedies of all time. I love that movie. And Kid and Play, I grew up with these guys. And Chris Reid is half of Kid and Play. He actually has a show. He's doing stand-up now. Stand-up comedy, a performance, 7:30 and 10 o'clock. And it is going to be at the Grand, downtown Grand. Chris Reid from Kid and Play joining us in studio. Chris, what's going on, man? Put his mic on, JD. Help him out. Put it on. There you go. That's okay. I would imagine, has that ever happened to you on stage before with all the concerts you've done? The mic isn't turned on.
Well, that once in a while that happens. Sometimes, the music will go off. So,
Right.
do some technical, and you just got to do What's my man like? What's her name? Sister. Remember when her music got messed up on Saturday Night Live, and she had to do like a little
Simpson? Yes.
Ashley Simpson. She had to do a little jig.
For the record, I do remember that. For the record, have you ever lip synced? No.
No, we haven't lip synced, but there's sometimes when we're playing our performing live, we'll have like backing vocals, and we'll rhyme and sing on top of the thing, for extra flavor.
So I have to ask you this: the top you had on your head at one
Yes,
point, your hair is a little different these days.
Yeah. Well, it's back in the days, the high top fade was it's a young man's haircut. You know what I'm saying? So I see a lot of young people rocking it today.
Honestly, how tall was that? Do you know?
I don't know, 7, 8 inches, I try to make it proportionate to my junk.
So
yours would be 3
inches. Yeah, exactly. You stole the
Right,
joke.
and he's right. That's why he's bald, right? Okay, I get it.
Exactly.
I have an innie.
So take me back to square one here. You meet your partner in crime. Obviously, that would be Christopher Martin.
That's right.
When did you guys meet, and when did you form the group Kid and Play? Take me back to the early days.
Yeah, well, it was a dark and stormy night. No, Play and I grew up together around the corner from each other in Queens, New York. And, I've known him since I was like 12 years old. I think he was a couple years older. And it all kind of got born out of a friendship. We were in different groups. Back in the days, everybody had a crew, like this crew and that crew. We were in 2 different crews. But those crews kind of disintegrated, and, we kind of gravitated toward each other, and we were hanging out with each other every day. And we were just like, well, let's do something together. We're with each other all the time. So there was another cat that was really tight with us. He was a record producer named Herbie Lovebug, and he was the guy that created and blew up Salt and Pepper. So we stepped to him, and he was like, work with us. You know what I'm saying? We're homeboys, whatever. And that's how basically how we created Kid and Play. And we started opening up for Salt and Pepper.
You're in your early 20s?
What?
At this time?
Yeah, like maybe 21, 22, something like that.
And you're opening for Salt. That's a big deal.
Yeah, we were open for Salt and Pepper, Keith Sweat, Heavy D was out back then as well.
And you're making a name for yourself at that time. You just get your album out.
Yeah, we were opening, we getting on at like 7 o'clock, ain't nobody there. We used to be like, we perform for the ushers and the vendors. But that's how you get better.
So Chris, where was the point in your career where you guys said, oh my God, we made it? Now, obviously, opening up for Salt and Pepper and Keith, that's a big deal, especially for a kid in his early 20s.
Right.
But what was the turning point, you think, in your career?
Well, I mean, those early days were a lot of fun because those are the days that kind of toughen you up. When you're the opening act, we kind of used it to kind of fuel us so that, we only wanted to be an opening act on a tour like one time. Like next year, we're a little higher on the bill, and next year, and then, give you something to shoot for, and make better records, and you'll have your fashions look even better, and make sure your high top is crisp and the dance moves, all that stuff. Just trying to, set ourselves apart, because the hip hop scene in New York at the time was like very, very competitive. So you really kind of had to be at your best, even to just, be amongst the best in New York. So, we sold a bunch of records, but I mean, honestly, the big turning point was probably when the first House Party movie came out.
Yes, I was going to ask you about that.
That just kind of took us to a whole nother level. And there's nothing like seeing yourself or people seeing your face on a huge screen.
Right.
That's back when people still going to movies.
I mean, it's fair to say at one point in your career, you were one of the most recognizable musicians out there around.
Oh, yeah. But also what's funny is, people look at the high top and, oh, man, it was so cool. But back in the days when I first started wearing it, people used to laugh at me all the time. They would laugh, especially white people. They thought it was hysterical, man. Like, oh, look at this guy.
but let's talk about
what race is he?
That's a very good impersonation of JD, actually.
I know. I was listening on the way in.
That's almost too good.
But speaking of the high top, that's what you did in the movie Class Act. That's one of my favorite movies, by the way, comedies of all time, where you're playing this kid who's this intellectual kid, and you're swapping personalities with what was Christopher Martin at the time.
With the thug.
It's a brilliant, I guess you could say idea, and the movie, I think everybody could relate to it, right? I mean, that's what made that movie so popular.
Well, and if people remember what happened in that movie, in the transformation from being a nerd to a thug or what have you, I changed my hairstyle. I wasn't wearing the high top anymore. They kind of twisted it up. But because originally I didn't want to wear the high top in that movie at all. But Warner Brothers.
Why not?
Because I always try to go with my instinct. My instinct told me when to do it in the first place, and I didn't want to get stuck with it. You know what I mean? That was about my fear was if you don't move on to something else and show the world that it isn't just about your hairstyle, it's about your talent, it's about your ability, it's about your creativity. So initially, when we got the deal to do Class Act, I told my managers to tell Warner Brothers I didn't intend on wearing the high top in the movie at all. And Warner Brothers came back and threatened to sue. They's like, nah, they like, Negro, we bought you and your hair, So it was, we were going back and forth. And the compromise was I would start the movie as the nerd in the high top and then transition. So when I changed, I'm trying to become a, more streetwise character, that's when I changed the hair. Mm-hmm. And I never wore it again after that.
Really? I never knew that.
Yeah, and it was weird. I never forget because we were doing the movie in and out of sequence. So I would have the hairstylist come in and I had the high top and then she would twist it up into the the dready, noodly looking hair. And I never forget when I went back to the high top. After that, I looked at myself in the mirror, and for the first time, I thought I looked stupid. You know what I'm saying? Like I didn't feel, and that's when I knew it was time to move on. You know what I'm saying? So I haven't worn that since 1991.
But you didn't grow up as a nerdy guy though, right?
I did. I totally did.
So you did. Okay, so you were that kind of.
I was. Yeah, I went to a prestigious high school in New York City called the Bronx High School of Science. And Play went to like 6 high schools. So I mean,
so you guys really didn't have to act, or
no, yeah, Class Act was like this. I was like, we saw the writer. We were like, do you know us? Like you got everything on point, And I think that's initially that's what attracted us to the script. It was like, yo, this is just like how we grew up. You know what I'm saying? Play hated school. I was definitely on the nerdy tip. And Play tells a story. He was. He'd come over my house and he couldn't believe that I knew all the answers to Jeopardy. And he was like, man, this dude know a lot of stuff.
That is amazing.
So we try to help each other. So I was trying to urge him to get back into school and, kind of improve his mind and crack a book once in a while. You know what I'm saying?
Of course.
And he was kind of the one to kind of help me navigate the streets and, how to talk to chicks and all this and that.
But that movie challenged like stereotypes and it was funny the way you guys did. Do you feel like you guys were one of the first to really, challenge those types of stereotypes and make it funny and make fun of yourself a little bit without being criticized for it?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think we were able to work with each other. And we always work together. You know how they cast people. This guy, put him with this guy. Put right. Danny DeVito with Arnold Schwarzenegger. Right. It just feels right. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? But we had a natural chemistry because we had grown up together. Right. And you know what I mean? With that ease, we could, kind of go. And we also kind of had each other's back. And we, like you said, we weren't afraid to kind of take shots at ourselves and be the butt of the joke sometimes. And I think people appreciated that. And it was at a crucial time in terms of movies and hip hop. So, the way you put it out there, you wanted to make it palatable for everybody, for black kids, white kids, Latin kids, Asian kids. So, and then also combining that with the music, it was a fun time because the hip hop was growing and we felt like we were a part of that movement. And at the time we were also touring. We're touring with Public Enemy. We're touring with Salt and Pepper.
Oh, wow.
So, it was
Flavor Flav right here in Las Vegas, man.
That's my homeboy.
You know what? Speaking of Flavor Flav, one of my favorite jokes, Lisa Lampanelli said, Flav, why are you wearing that clock? You hadn't had to be anywhere in 20 years. That was one of my favorite jokes.
Yo, I tell you, excuse me, I'll tell you a quick story about Flavor. We were all on tour together. What's funny, like Public Enemy was probably like one of the most controversial groups of the time, right?
Absolutely.
But as artists, we all kind of respected each other. And Public Enemy, they always put us on one of their tours because they felt we balanced things out. You know what I mean? We used to do shows with Public Enemy. We toured with NWA. Because to get into a lot of these buildings, you had to have that balance because the building owners is like Public Enemy, and they're like, no, but we got Kid and Play. And you get every spring before the summer tour. You'd get that call from Chuck D from Public Enemy. You're like, come on, we gotta go on the tour, hit them all the more. If you didn't play, I'm on the ball. I'm like, okay, Chuck, we'll be there. But we were on tour one year. And we're coming into some city, and we're in there with the buses and flavors. Everybody's coming in, and the rooms weren't ready at the hotel. So all the groups are just kind of chilling in the lobby. You got to wait till they clean the rooms, and there's a grand piano in the lobby. So, we're all kind of, playing around with it. None of us know how to play.
Right.
And then here comes Flavor. Flavor comes off the bus. He well, listen to that. And he sits down at the piano. We're like, man, what is this fool getting ready to do, man? Stop it. And then he goes, Midnight Sonata. We were like, oh, mouths dropped open. We're like, oh.
So he's good.
These are idiots of art, man.
Flavor Flav plays the guitar, plays the piano.
He plays the drums. He plays a gang of instruments, man. Then he just pum pum.
That's unbelievable. That would be like if Justin Bieber got up there on the stage and he started busting out these raps, and you're like, oh my God, this guy's the next Eminem.
I'm telling you, people have no idea how talented Flav is.
I never knew that. That's unbelievable.
So you mentioned how you were basically afraid that you'd be typecast because of your hair. Do you believe that actually ended up happening to you?
No, because I moved on. Like I said, when I after we finished the movie Class Act, I never went back to the high top fade again. And I've had different hairstyles since then. I've had actual dreads. I've had I messed around with some different things to just to kind of prove that point, because I didn't want to get stuck walking around with a gray high top. That's not that's not sexy. That's not sexy. So now it's just like whatever. I'm hanging on to every last curl now. You know what I'm saying? So,
he is Chris Reid, half of Kid and Play, and he's got a show doing some stand-up comedy downtown Grand. We'll get to that too in a little bit, and we also have some tickets to give away. Okay, so
tickets.
Absolutely. So you're at the top of your game, right? You got these movies out. You mentioned the house party movies. I love the movie Class Act. You're selling a gazillion albums. I would imagine, what was that like, being so recognizable? You can't even go right to a supermarket or a movie without people recognizing you.
Yeah.
How did you deal with that fame and that celebrity status?
Well, I mean, when it was at its hottest, it was pretty hot, but I've always been like a people person, so I've always embraced that, and I feel like it's part of the deal. A lot of people that get famous are not really people persons, so they, they might diss the fans, or they're just not as friendly or as accommodating as they could be. I've never really had that problem. But it did make things, a little bit difficult. When you come outside, you got to be, fresh. You can't be coming out looking all jacked up and whatnot.
In other words, you can't look like us. Yeah.
No. I wasn't going to say that. But it was tough. But it's like, be careful what you ask for. I mean, this is what we wanted. We were making our dreams come true. We were taking care of our families. We were being a part of, being creative and stuff. The movies were going great. The music was going great. We were able to kind of do some of our outside endeavors individually that we wanted to do. I started producing and managing other groups.
Right.
Play was doing his thing in the fashion world and stuff. So, it was a good time. So, I mean, I always enjoy the hustle and the bustle of the game. And even to this day, when I'm walking around Fremont last night, and people are coming up and want to, they want to say what's up and want to take pictures, You
still get that a lot.
Yeah, all the time, especially when playing out together. It's always funny because when we're touring and we're going backstage and we're walking together, when people see us together, they really kind of bug out. And we'll walk by some young people, and and they'll go, "Oh man, look at them, man. Yo, them dudes are legends, man." But they say legends, but by the time it gets to our ears, it sounds like, man, them dudes is old.
I love it. I absolutely love it.
Stop it. We can hear you.
What was it? Well, I would imagine, for somebody like myself who struggles to get dates on a regular basis, I would imagine for you guys, the groupies.
Very true. It wasn't hard to
get. The groupie status. Like, what was it like? Honestly, like, did you have like 10 women waiting backstage for you after a show? Like, what, 20? Like, what?
Ridiculous.
Give me a story. I mean, without, you don't have to get too graphic. You could if you'd like, though, Chris. But,
no. Well, I mean, a lot of times, we were on, whatever the major tours were at the time. Like I said, if it was Public Enemy or, like I said, one year we toured with NWA, and that's, those are some nasty hookers on that tour, Brian. But yeah, the hotel that all the groups stayed at was, everybody let everybody know where that is. We'd be on stage. Hey, man, we down at the downtown Grand.
But you have women, I would imagine you just have women throwing themselves at you left and right. I mean, to a normal everyday person, they'll never experience that.
Good, guys too. Guys want to get some too. Hey, kid. Hey, kid, you want to play?
That would not surprise me one bit, actually. So here's what I'm going to do. I am going to give away a pair of tickets right now. He is Chris Reid, from Kid and Play.
That's right.
He's going to be at Downtown Grand this weekend on Saturday night. A pair of tickets right now. Fifth caller, 702-257-5396. Again, fifth caller right now. You just scored yourself a pair of tickets to see Kid from Kid and Play. Chris Reid in action, stand-up comedy. It's going to be hilarious this weekend. 702-257-5396. Also, if you have a question for Kid Chris Reid, we'll also take that as well. Again, that number 702.
Or if you have ever had sex with Christopher Kid Reid, please no.
And the phones are lighting up.
Have you? Okay. Well, hey, you brought that up, not me. So I would imagine you've been with some very famous people.
No, not. I haven't.
Really?
Yeah. Now, Play was more like predisposed to that. You know what I'm saying? Play's had a couple of famous.
Have you ever had a famous woman come on to you?
Yeah.
Rosie O'Donnell?
No. Rosie O'Donnell.
No, but
no.
Can you name any famous woman that has come on to you?
I'd rather not.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
That's fair. Hillary Clinton?
Right.
All right, let's play. Were they an actress?
Right. What is this, Jeopardy?
So what's your
Hip hop horrors for 400, Alex.
So what's your do you have a family? Do you have kids? You married?
I've got 3 kids. They're all in their 20s though, but they still begging. You know what I mean? Like, there's like an old Robin Harris joke. He said, "Man, these kids they beg so much their hands look like cups." So I got 3 grown kids. They're doing well. I got 3 kids. I got 2 baby mamas. I got 1 ex-wife, and I got a new girlfriend.
Good for you, man.
Yeah, things are going really great.
We're gonna have to chart that a second. Wait.
Well, people don't understand. To get in the rappers union back in the day, you had to have at least 2 baby mamas.
That's what I thought.
Okay.
Is that how it
There's
works?
a 2 baby mama minimum.
Did you
That's a
ever?
good quota.
Did you ever meet? Did you ever spend time with Tupac or Biggie? Any of those guys?
I knew Tupac way back in the days when before he even became an artist. He used to be what we call like a crate carrier, like equipment guy, and he would background dance for Digital Underground. And so we had toured with Digital Underground in the early 90s. So yeah, I knew Tupac. Tupac was the thing with Tupac was he was about 19 at the time, and he was just this ball of energy. He was just like this meteor, and he was down for whatever. Like all the groups were tight on the tour. Public Enemy was tight. Heavy D, Digital, Kid and Play. And we all kind of hung out together and kind of cross-pollinated, with the different groups. And Tupac was one of those guys like, if he was your friend, even if it was a new friendship, he was down with you. Your enemy is his enemy. You'd be like, yo, man, I don't like that dude. Tupac like, yo, let's go F him up. Shoot, let's go. That type of stuff. So very, very emotional.
Do you think that was part of his demise, where that because of his emotion, obviously on that fateful day in Las Vegas when he was shot and lost his life, a lot of people have, like yourself, people have said that he was a very emotional guy, but if you were his friend, he had your back.
Oh, to the death. There was a young man who danced for, was one of Heavy D's backup dancers that died on that tour, that particular tour. Welcome to the Terror Dome tour. He fell from the arena, outside the arena, the ramp, and it just broke everybody up. And I remember we were all upset, but Tupac in particular was really, really upset because him and this cat named Troy were really, really tight. But yeah, I would come across Pac, a lot of times toward the end, him and Suge were always together. And, we had a good relationship with Suge.
What do you make of what happened to Suge? Because I don't know if you're aware of this. He played football here at UNLV.
Yeah, I know. Sugar, that's Sugar Bear.
What do you make of what transpired with him? It's not a good situation for his family. No, he may never see the light of day again. But I would imagine you were close with Suge, right?
I wouldn't say close.
But you were friendly with him.
Yeah, absolutely. Suge was a complicated guy. He had that street demeanor, and then he had the for a while he definitely had the business acumen, and they had the streets. I mean, to be honest, the rise of Death Row began the demise of groups like Kid and Play, to be honest. So when the gangster stuff started coming around, You know, they didn't want to see some happy dancing Negroes, man. They were just like, come on, man, where are the guns? Where are the guns? Where are the guns at? Stop it.
Why don't we take
Ain't going to hurt nobody. Oh, we're going to kill everybody.
We're going to play that song coming up next, by the way. He is Chris Reid from Kid and Play. What? Yes, that's right. And he's got some stand-up comedy, and it's going to be
and
at the Grand.
he ate at White Castle last night.
White Castle's
hold
awesome.
your nose.
Let's take a call. Chris has a question for Kid. Chris, why don't you take the mic, my friend? You are on with Chris Reid. What's your question for Chris Reid?
Guys, what's going on? Chris, it's Chris Reid. Awesome to see you here in Vegas, man.
Thanks, boss. What's good?
Floating around your same age range, and man, that first house party was just so much fun. It had to be fun to shoot that too, being with Martin Lawrence and obviously Tisha and all of them. But you're doing the stand-up comedy thing now.
That's right.
Did Robin Harris give you any pointers? Obviously, the late Robin Harris, great comedian, great stand-up comedian. What kind of advice did he give you as far as the whole game, as far as being in movies and maybe stand-up comedy?
Well, Robin was a great man. Obviously, we lost him way too soon. You know, he was older than us during that movie, and he was kind of like our patron saint. You know, I mean, we were all younger. We would do as he said and whatnot. But Robin had, at that time, I wasn't even thinking about doing stand-up. It was years later, like around 2000, when a couple of good friends of mine, Tommy Davidson and Bill Maher, they're the ones that urged me to get into stand-up.
Two legends.
Yeah, and matter of fact, Bill Maher put me on the Oprah Winfrey Show. They were doing a segment called Funny People and Who They Think Are Funny. So you had Jon Stewart brought on Louis Black.
Oh, love those guys.
D.L. Hughley brought on some more. And Bill brought me on, and kind of gave me my introduction to the stand-up world. And then I started doing that. You know, I fell in love with it, and it was at a time when Kid and Play was kind of dormant, and so it was a way for me to get back on stage. And once I realized, when I started doing stand-up, I was like, yo, this doesn't feel unfamiliar at all, because I already knew my way around the stage. I mean, we were on stage in front of 30, 40,000 people sometimes, you know. So, but it was just about marrying that to what it takes to be a comedian, the material and stuff like that. So, Robin was definitely an inspiration in a lot of different ways. You know, he and I hung out a lot because we had a lot of scenes together. He was playing my father, so he was just a really good dude, and we miss him for sure.
Well, we're going to take a quick break, and Chris Reid from Kid and Play is nice enough. He's going to stick around for another segment. We're also going to talk to Mr. Barnhart, if you're wondering who that other voice is.
Barnhart.
That's right. He's been doing stand-up comedy in this town forever, and he's got a little information to tell us about this show on Saturday night. We'll also take more of your phone calls, 702-257-5396, and they're nice enough to be giving away another pair of tickets next segment. We'll take a quick break. We'll be back right after this. You are listening to The Vegas Take.
Nice.
So now I've got this pack of 4 Shar-Pei rescue dogs for, oh my goodness, probably 5-6 years. They get a regular diet of Dinovite with every meal. DINOVITE.com. People remark on what beautiful coats they've got. I tell them, you don't need to wait until a problem presents itself. It's far better to keep the dog happy and healthy at all times.
You won't believe how happy your dog will be.
I get my Dinovite from DINOVITE.com.
If you owe over $10,000 in back taxes, you need a new start. Our New Start program will stop collection efforts, remove any liens the IRS has in place, and help you reduce your back taxes by as much as 80%. That's right, 80%. Call 1-800-312-9970. Let the professionals at Coast One Financial Group fight to get you the new start you deserve. If you owe at least $10,000 to the IRS and need a new start on your back taxes, call 1-800-312-9970.
To be self-quarantining thousands of sailors and Marines at sea who've made Pacific stops. They'll be held for 14 days. Meanwhile, a California woman who may be the first case of community transmission in the U.S. is in serious condition in the hospital. Correspondent Stephanie Elam with the latest.
Her family has been quarantined, and also the hospital saying that any hospital worker that came in contact with her, they are now monitoring them. Some of them are quarantined, some isolated, some are just at home monitoring their own symptoms. They're saying it is dozens of hospital workers that they are monitoring, but it's less than 100 people.
There are now 62 confirmed cases of coronavirus in the U.S., according to the CDC. 2 new cases were reported today among passengers who had been aboard the Diamond Princess cruise ship that was docked in Japan. On Wall Street, more sliding for the stocks, the Dow down about 850. I'm Mike Moss.
It's time to check the roads.
From the Lerner and Rowe Traffic Studio.
This report is sponsored by Sam & Ash. Eastbound down the Southern Beltway, we're seeing a couple of issues. One of these is a crash that has a cement truck on its side at Buffalo. Then we've got another wreck hanging out on the Stephanie Street off-ramp. Off the freeways, crews are on the scene of another accident coming in on Jones at Spring Mountain. Sam & Ash are the personal injury attorneys in your corner. Why? Because you deserve what's right. Visit them now at salmonash.com or call 1-800-304-2000. That's 1-800-304-2000. I'm Josh in the KDON Traffic Center.
This is John Greenhut, and if your teeth are stained from coffee, tea, or smoking, Power Swabs is the answer. In 5 minutes, you'll see 2 shades whiter teeth, and in 7 days, 6 shades. Even better, there's no messy strips or trays that you'll have to leave in your mouth for an hour. Just swab your teeth for 5 minutes, and you're done. To try Power Swabs, call 1-800-679-0969. Your bright white smile will have your friends talking about how great you look. Try it risk-free. 1-800-679-0969. That's 1-800-679-0969.
Attention, if you're in debt to the IRS and frustrated with your options, for a limited time you can call and quickly check your eligibility for the Fresh Start programs offered by the IRS to reduce or even eliminate your tax problem. Through this special toll-free hotline number, you can find out in minutes if you qualify for these powerful new debt reduction programs green-lighted by the IRS for 2019. If you have unfiled tax returns, under audit, have a wage or bank levy, or just want to know your options, business or personal, Republic Tax Relief's A-plus rated tax relief system has helped thousands stop IRS collections immediately and saved millions in tax debt. These relief programs will not last forever. Call the hotline number now, 800-943-1253. That's 800-943-1253. Check your eligibility for tax debt savings today. Call 800-943-1253. That's 800-943-1253.
Mark Levin, weekdays 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. Now back to the Vegas Take on 101.5 FM, 720 AM. KDON.
Wait, that sounds like Kid and Play, I think. Half of Kid and Play would be Chris Reid. Yeah, that's right.
All right, can you hear me? Yeah, I wrote that.
I think you did. How much money did that song make you?
Oh, God, I don't know. The
$29.95.
Child support took it all.
You're a
diverted.
You're a millionaire, are you not? Is that a fair?
No,
you're not a millionaire.
Definitely not a millionaire.
You're not. Are you kidding me?
I've been a millionaire,
You've
but
been a
I'm not currently a millionaire.
Sounds like Mike Tyson.
I'm a millionaire. I'm a millionaire the way Trump is a billionaire.
We don't need to see
You
your tax
never
returns.
quite know.
Right.
I'm not showing my returns.
Do you implement politics into your stand-up act?
Not a lot. Not a lot. That's not really my bag. I mean, I do that more like on the personal tip, on the private tip. You know, I leave that to guys like Bill Maher. Bill Maher is probably like the best at that.
He's a genius when it comes to
and
that stuff.
yeah,
no
he's
question.
been a close friend of mine for a long time. So I definitely
love Bill
learned
Maher.
a lot from him. And I actually did the theme song to his HBO show.
I saw a very. Did you? I didn't know that.
Yeah. Check the credits.
You did the intro to Bill. I did not know that.
Yeah.
Quick Bill Maher story, since you are friends with him. So I'm friends with a woman. Her name is Lisa White. She's a blackjack dealer on the Strip. And she happens to be one of the women that was in the scandal with Anthony Weiner. Do you remember the Anthony Weiner scandal? So Bill Maher read one of the transcripts between Weiner and this woman, and it was funny. I thought it was funny. Obviously, she didn't think it was funny. She did an interview, and she said she was very disappointed in Bill Maher, blah, 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 blah. Bill Maher sees that interview, personally calls her, invites her to see his show with me, and we're hanging out with him backstage, and he's apologizing to her. And I'm thinking to myself, what a cool dude. You know, what a nice dude.
Yeah.
Like, why
that's surprising to me.
Like,
that he did that.
Yeah, I mean, he did do that.
I'll have to ask him about it now.
Well, maybe he liked what she looked like, which is very possible because she was a very attractive.
She was a hottie.
Woman. But I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt. He was actually very cool and down to earth.
Right. So you were backstage in the green room and everything.
We
like
were.
that?
Yeah,
oh, that's cool.
Yeah, we were, and you know, his manager brought us back there, and it was just cool. What a really smart guy. You could say what you want about him, about his politics, which I tend to agree with, but he's a really smart guy.
No, he's super smart. He's easily probably the smartest dude that I know. And one of the things about it is, you know, we've kind of helped each other like over the years. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of weird when people would see us out, hanging out or having dinner, people were like, how y'all two know each other? Like, how, you know what I'm saying? But
Isn't he from New York, though?
Yeah, he's from Jersey. Same thing.
Same
you know what I'm
thing.
saying?
Yep,
Yeah.
yep.
But you know, he's kind of been like like an elder statesman for me, and I've learned a lot from him. He's changed my views on a lot of different things, on like religion and.
I love Religulous, by the way. That is a great movie.
Brilliant. You know, him, Larry Charles.
Yeah. Larry Charles, Curb Your Enthusiasm, one of my favorite shows.
I barely smoked weed back in the days, and now now it's ridiculous. Now I'm like, now there's a cloud of smoke. You know how you remember Pigpen from Charlie Brown, and there's a cloud of smoke with him all the time. That's me, but it's weed smoke.
I would imagine there was. I'm not saying you did this, but I would say that back in the day when you were touring, there was probably some white powder backstage.
You know what? We didn't mess with that too tough.
Really?
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. I mean, we barely drank back then.
Was that the nerd person in you? Or?
No, I think you know what? I mean, like I said, but probably by the time I got to California, that's when you kind of get exposed to all of that stuff. But I think at the time we were so young and we were just really kind of focused, and we were like part of a crew. Like it was us, Salt and Pepper. Like I said, Herbie managed and produced us all, and they kind of, we all kind of checked each other and made sure everybody was focused and present. So we didn't do a whole lot of that stuff back then. The wild stuff came like a little bit later, like when I moved to California.
Give me an example of one wild night in the life of Kid from Kid and Play. Give me one night that you can say this was abnormal. This was a wild and crazy night.
Okay, so this is several years ago. We were going to it was an after party for like the Golden Globes or something like that.
So that's
right?
a big deal.
Yeah, it was a big deal. I think it was the big party after that was it wasn't Vanity Fair, but it was some big party we were at. Excuse me. And then word comes in that that Prince is having a party at his house. Prince had rented a house in Beverly Hills from the basketball player Carlos Boozer.
Oh, of course, Chicago Bulls.
He had it. So he rented it for like the year or something like that. So somebody was saying, "Hey man, Prince is having a party at his house, man." And we was like, "Yo!" So I look around, and the DJ from Salt and Pepper, Sprinderella, it was me and her. We were there. We was just like, "Yo, we should go." Yeah, let's go. I mean,
it's a party with Prince.
I'm Kid. You Spinderella. We go together. We might get in. So we're just gonna roll up on the set. We wasn't invited or nothing. So we get there, and we come up there. There's some goth-looking dude with a black coat with the collar up. He's got a headset, and we were like, Kid and Spinderella are here. And he goes, Wait 1 minute, please. He turns around, he's checking his thing, and we just like, oh man.
Did you have the high top back then?
No, I didn't. But
that could have helped.
Yeah, like, no, well, yeah, we about to find out. You know what I'm saying? So what happened was where the so we're waiting, anxious moments, and then finally he comes back. He says, "You may go." No, not leave. He said, like, you may go.
Oh, you were allowed to come in.
Yeah, because they had this shuttle. They had this shuttle that had to take you up to the house. Like, you're down here at the bottom. You got to go up a hill. And so we on, and it's just me and her on the shuttle. We like, yo.
So you walk into a party, an after party after the Golden Globes. You're admitted into a party Prince. I would say there's not a lot of people that have been to parties like that. So what is that like? You walk in there. It's crazy.
You walk in there. There's Mariah Carey over here. There's Will.i.am over there. There's Dougie Fresh over here. There's all these record executives. Mary J. Blige. They got the liquor bar, they're serving Veuve Clicquot. I'm like, oh, yeah, mama, I made it.
I would imagine a lot of attractive women at that party as well.
Oh, ridiculous. So there's this big kind of foyer right by the grand entrance or whatever.
Right.
So a couple of us are down there, shooting it. And then here comes Prince down the steps. And I swear he was floating. He had like this turquoise caftan, and he was just like floating down. Welcome to my home. We're like, yo, this is great.
Because I heard he was a shy guy. So when he's in that situation, what is he doing? Is he like mingling? Did you talk to him?
Yeah. We had a little circle there, so we like chit chatting for a little bit or whatever. But then he bounces because they're going to another part of the house because they're playing live music. He's playing live music. Like
he was playing music.
Oh, it was a concert. It turned into a freaking concert.
Oh my God.
Turned into a concert. So I'm like, yo, my wife at the time was out of town, and she's the biggest Prince fan. I'm like, oh my God, she's never gonna, let me, forget about that she wasn't able to be there. But I thought to myself, I mean, this party's rocking, man. It's like 1, 2 o'clock. It's packed, man. We just jamming. And then I thought to myself, I said, yo, Bill Maher lives right up the street. You know, he lived nearby in Beverly Hills. I said, yo, I should call him, tell him to come down to this party, man. So I called him. I said, yo, you got to come down the hill, man. He's like 10 minutes away, 5 minutes away.
Right.
I said, come down here. It's banging. It's Prince. Come on, man. There's broads. Let's do it. He's like, you sure? I said, yeah, man. Come on. So he comes down the hill, and they don't let him in the party.
No. So Bill Maher did not get to go to the Prince party.
And I couldn't figure out why, but we think it was because, you know, Bill is so anti-religious. And Prince is was uber religious.
I would think Prince agreed with his politics, though, no? Am I wrong?
We'll never know.
That is incredible.
We'll never know. Yeah, and I felt so bad that I left the party with Bill. I said, yo, I can't go back in there. All right, Bill, I'll see you later, man.
So I'm just trying to picture this. We have a young kid and a young Chris
You would have
Reid.
liked if I did that, right? Yeah, leave Bill Maher.
We have a young kid, from Kid and Play, and then you have Bill Maher. I'm just trying to picture him outside the gate. They won't let him into this Prince party.
Will not look the same guy, you know, with the goth-looking guy. Was like, you may not enter. No, he told me you may go. He told Bill you may go home.
I could see if it was Pauly Shore, you know, but Bill Maher's a pretty big name.
Man,
you know?
listen, he had to do the walk of shame, so I had to go with him. I left with him. But
You're a
it
good
was
friend.
but it was already like 3:30 in the morning. I was like, I gotta go. Okay. I gotta get out of here
Why do you
anyway.
think?
Where did Spinderella go?
Oh, she stayed. She's like, see you, kid. I was like, you whore.
If you're just joining us, we're speaking with Chris Reid. He is Kid from Kid and Play. He's doing a show at the Downtown Grand. And his partner in crime here, I want him to talk a little bit about this show that is going to be Saturday night. That is Don Barnhart.
Hello.
And if you know
Don.
Hey, what's up, Don?
Thank you for being
We
here.
call him the Don.
Yes,
The Don.
the
not
Don.
The other Don.
I like that. You've done a lot of stand-up. You have your own career in stand-up comedy. Talk to me a little bit about this show and how you put this thing together.
Well, I own Delirious Comedy Club at the Downtown Grand. We have a couple different shows there. We try to do a celebrity comedy series because we really rebranded the downtown area. And one of my buddies from Colorado asked, who's one of your biggest draws out there? He goes, well, Chris Reid, Kid. I go, can you get him? And he called him, and Chris called me, and we got him here. So
that's awesome.
It's just something to do. We're promoting the heck out of it, 7:30 and 10 o'clock. Delirious Comedy Club at the Downtown Grand. And Kid called me up and goes, hey, man, my buddy said, you going to do this? Is this good? I go, yeah, it's good. And he was on the phone and booked it right away.
Yeah, we just worked it through some, good buddy of ours. And, it sounds like cool. And, I always like trying different things. I was actually, Play and I were actually here on New Year's Eve. We had a show here New Year's Eve. Where was that at? Some big club. I forgot where it is.
In Vegas?
Yeah.
Dre's?
No. It was, I'll get back to it. But it's weird having been here, 6 weeks ago as a rapper, and now back here this time as a stand-up. And, hearing it was downtown. That, I like it downtown. It's kind of funky.
It's cool.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah, I was walking around last night, and the vibe is really great. And I like what Don is doing, and he's catching things on the upswing. So much construction and stuff is going on. So, I'm excited to do it.
Speaking of the show, I just want to give another pair of tickets away.
Yeah.
We have 2 more tickets to give away. He is Chris Reid, Kid from Kid and Play. And as we just mentioned, a show downtown, 2 shows actually, Saturday night.
That's right.
5th caller right now, 702-257-5396. Again, that number, if you will score a pair of tickets to see Kid from Kid and Play do his stand-up act. Again, that number, 702-257-5396. Call now. 5th caller wins a pair of tickets.
Is 5 like your lucky number?
I could have done 50. Yeah. I could have done 69. I could have picked any number I wanted. But
I got 5 on it.
That was pretty good.
He does really like that show. Don, is this a one-off exclusive performance, or is it part of a residency type situation?
So we have Delirious, which is 5 nights a week. Thanks for asking. 9 o'clock Wednesday through Sunday, and then once a month we're going to start doing a celebrity comedy series. So we had Pauly Shore back in November. It was a great success. We go to the bigger room for this. So I'm usually one of the headliners you might see at Delirious or one of the other clubs around town, but we're trying to do more celebrity series. So, Kid, if you could bring some of your other friends in, like this Bill Maher cat.
Are you gonna let him in?
Yeah. I just wanted Prince to be the guy in the goth outfit at the front door.
Oh, no,
I was just hoping that would have been Prince.
No, it was a real tall, pasty white dude with spiked hair. and he had like a long black trench coat, and the collar was up, and the headphone, like he was straight out of Central Casting. He was like Matrix Junior looking.
Well, I'll tell you what I want to do next, because this is going to be a lot of fun. It's one of our favorite segments of the show, and it's called Hate Mail. And what we do is people say a lot of very bad things about me. I know, surprising, right? I know,
right, like mean tweets.
Yeah, I'm sure you've had that now and then. I'm such a likable guy. I don't know,
Right.
But anyway, Chris has been nice enough. He's going to read some of those comments coming up next, right? Isn't that right, Chris?
That is correct. We're gonna let them get the hate out.
I am looking forward to that. So we're going to take a quick break. Our last segment of the show, Chris is nice enough to stick with us. Kid from Kid and Play. Again, his show Saturday night, Downtown Grand. 2 shows, 7 and 10. Is that right?
Yeah,
7:30 and 10.
7:30 and 10.
7:30 and
But
10.
you can get there at 7. That's fine.
Cool.
Yeah, that's right. Hang out.
And again, thank you to the Downtown Grand. They're remodeling. They got a new tower coming in. So
Oh,
they're really pushing for
Derek
this.
Stevens is a friend. He's been on this show plenty of times, and he's a great guy. And what he's done with that hotel was incredible. You can see why he's made so much money as a successful businessman.
Yeah, it's nice. It's nice over there.
Yeah. You gamble, Chris?
With my penis.
Zoinks.
Well, in that case, just date any stripper, and that's definitely a gamble. All right, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, it is the hate mail segment.
With my junk.
The hate mail segment with Chris Reid.
Careful with my junk.
From Kid and Play. Take a quick break. Be back with that.
I wish I said junk.
You're listening to the Vegas Take.
If your business is in need of office furniture, look no further than Office Furniture Concepts. From executive furniture to workstations, conference tables to reception furniture, and more, Office Furniture Concepts has got you covered. With true commercial-grade quality at competitive prices and knowledgeable staff, it's no wonder Office Furniture Concepts has been serving the Las Vegas community for over 2 decades. Visit Office Furniture Concepts showroom on West Tropicana at Arville, or call 702-873-8555. That's 702-873-8555.
Can a tree change a life? At Trees for the Future, we believe trees make all the difference in the fight against poverty, hunger, and climate change. Through a proven permaculture method called the Forest Garden Approach, Trees for the Future has positively impacted over 26,000 farmers and their children. Are you ready to leave a lasting impact on the world? Find out how to plant seeds of hope this season at trees.org/radio. That's trees.org/radio.
Imagine crossing a street busy with traffic. Against the light.
Watch where you're going.
Wearing a blindfold. Would you do this? Probably not. It's one risk obviously not worth taking. Some risks aren't as obvious, yet could be just as deadly, like the risk for type 2 diabetes. If you're overweight or over 45, if you're not very active, or don't eat as healthy as you should, there's an easy test you can take to find out your risk. It's free, and in less than a minute, you'll know if you're at risk for this deadly disease. Just go to diabetes.org/take-the-test or call 1-800-DIABETES. Because type 2 diabetes is one risk you can't afford to take. Take the diabetes risk test and stop diabetes before it stops you. A message from the American Diabetes Association.
Amid Las Vegas's glitz and glamour lurks the tragedy of homeless veterans, our nation's heroes who return from war but continue to fight a battle for survival on our city's gritty streets. The basic human need of shelter shouldn't be a luxury to military heroes, which is why there is Veterans Village. Veterans Village is a nonprofit organization providing transitional housing, meals, and social services to homeless vets to give them a hand up. Veterans Village is a place of hope, but we can't do it without you. Be a hero to heroes and donate any amount you can afford at vvlv.org. That's vvlv.org. vvlv.org.
Mark Levin, weekdays 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. Now back to the Vegas Take on 101.5 FM, 720 AM. KDON.
All right, welcome back. It is the Vegas Take. Sharp and Shapiro, glad you could join us. Our very special guest in studio is Chris Reid. He is Kid from Kid and Play.
Yes, I be.
And he is doing some stand-up comedy at the Downtown Grand this Saturday, 7:30 and 10 p.m. Congratulations to both of our winners. So this is the part of the show where usually our producer, Jason Stein, reads off some of the hate mail that we get on a daily basis, and we get quite a bit of it.
Tons.
So, Mr. Stein, why don't you take over, because it's my understanding that Kid from Kid and Play is going to read some of the hate mail.
Oh, we could do that. We could do that. I think it would just be great to have him react, so we could have 3 people laughing at you instead of 2, like we usually do. But that's okay.
However you want to rock it.
However you
We'll
want
do
to
it. We'll do
You're
it.
the producer,
We'll do it.
so
All right,
figure it
let's
out.
do it. Let me start. So
get it popping.
Well, yeah, let me get started so Chris knows how we do it here. Okay, here we go.
Fair enough.
We were talking earlier in the show about coronavirus and the political reaction to it. Pete writes, Brian, are you disappointed that your guest isn't jumping on your fearmonger Dem talking points? A whole lot of what ifs. So basically, wash your hands and stay home if you're sick. Got it?
I don't wash my hands, and I don't take showers, so that's never going to happen.
Okay. The real Carol.
Pungent.
That's true, by the way, Chris.
Pungent.
That's actually true. That's not shtick.
Unless I have sex twice in
very
one day,
accurate.
then I'll consider taking a shower. Yes, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Okay, the real
Not even true.
Carolyn Haynes. I say Carolyn Haynes. I think the fake Carolyn changed their name to the real Carolyn Haynes. As soon as I tune in, I am bombarded with Brian's yelling, whiny voice. Can the Vegas Take use better voice filters, please?
Fran Drescher is going to just filled out an application, so she's possibly. By the way, can I just say this?
Yes.
Kid has an unbelievable set of pipes. He could be a radio host.
Yeah, he could.
This
is how we do it.
I like that. A little Montel Jordan action. I like that.
Would we replace JD with him?
JD, do you mind?
What do you sing?
He
What do
does.
you sing?
He does play a very good
I
white person.
do white stuff too.
Yeah.
Hey, mama said the way you move, gonna make you glad. That's beautiful.
That's That's almost too good.
That's beautiful.
You got any Skinner?
Sweet home Alabama.
Yeah.
All right, how about John Denver?
What is this?
Left my teeth in Louisiana.
What was that?
Just 989 banana.
If I had to name the worst musician that you would not want to impersonate, who would it be?
Oh man, put me on the spot.
Yes.
Oh
yes.
my God.
Britney Spears.
Britney's no Ashley Simpson. Right? I don't know.
Oh yeah.
We don't have music to play.
I know, right?
Go ahead, Stein.
All right,
What's
back to the hate mail. Maybell writes, Maybell Shapiro is what she calls herself.
Oh, well, she's not related to me, that's for sure.
We don't know. So this is what my son does with his life. Yells into a microphone every day for a living. We paid for the best schools, and this is what he decided to do. Oy
By the way,
vey.
my parents would never pay for me to go to school. That's not true. I was on a scholarship, so that's definitely not my mother. She would have never paid for me to go to school. That's not true.
Yeah.
That's false.
I had to work my way through school too, as well. My father was Jamaican, so he was just like, I'm not going to pay for it.
I'm a Jew also. I'm a Jew-Macon. Go ahead, Stein.
Okay, earlier in the show before Chris Reid came in.
A Jew-Macon.
I'm a Jew-Macon. I'm a Jew.
We were talking earlier in the show also about Diamond and Silk. Do you know who Diamond and Silk are?
Diamond and Silk, or Diamond and Silk. I think Diamond and Silk were like rappers. Oh, them. Oh,
no, they're YouTube
ones,
stars.
Oh, the ones on Fox.
Yeah. Correct. Yeah, they are two black women
Lord.
who backed Donald Trump, and they have a show on Fox, and they're on YouTube and all that.
Lord.
So we were talking. We had a
Stop it.
we had a segment about them because they were in the White House yesterday. While we got this coronavirus thing going
cleaning?
on.
What were they doing?
No, they weren't cleaning. No. You can make that joke. I can't make that joke. But no, they were in the White House meeting with Trump yesterday, and we were playing.
You better hurry up, Diamond. I'm coming, Silk.
That's not bad. So we were talking.
Bring the lights on.
You shouldn't talk about black leaders like
well,
that.
Brian was doing that earlier. He was imitating them as we were playing some audio, and so someone writes in. A lot of people actually wrote in, but one person says, "So now you're making fun of how black women talks. Real nice, Brian." Nothing to say about that. Huh?
Well, first of all,
I can totally
talk
agree.
like
He
third
was
graders.
definitely doing that for 10 to 15 minutes without realizing that they're entertainers and they're comedians. And for the fact that just because they are talking that way doesn't mean they're not intelligent, Brian. It doesn't work like
They
that.
talk like third graders,
I
and if
get it.
Donald Trump is going to spend an hour with them and call them black leaders,
but
I think
do
they should
that-
have at least a GED.
They do that
Is that
for
wrong
a
of me
reason.
to say?
They do that for their act.
I'm sorry.
Is it really? It's just like a big act. It's just like a
They're
okay.
just
Okay.
fools on YouTube. That's
Yeah,
all they
just-
are. That's all.
But Donald Trump has taken, he's kind of taken them in because they're gearing it
Because
towards
they're
that-
homeless.
because-
I don't-
Kid,
because-
make some national news right now, okay? Who are you supporting for president? I'm going to put you on the spot right now.
You know what?
Stormy
I
Daniels?
know who I'm not supporting. All right, but I'm not yet excited about anybody I've seen or heard from
Do you
yet.
think we'll ever see the day Kanye West runs for president of the United
I
States?
certainly hope not.
Do you know? Have you met Kanye? You know?
No, actually, he's one of the few people I don't think I have met. I think we've been in the same area, like back in the days or something like that. I mean, I think musically he's a genius, but
have any of the Kardashians ever hit on you?
No, they have not. They have not.
That's rare.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Well, I'm only half black.
That's true.
If I was all black, they probably would. And knew how to dribble a basketball.
So they've hit on play then.
Yeah, they would. I'm sure, and he would go for them too back in the day. Play was crazy. Play tried to hit all 5 of them and the moms.
Big Daddy writes, if Brian doesn't think it's courageous to be a Trump supporter, I challenge him to put a legitimate MAGA hat on, that stupid little bald head of his, and wear it for the entire day in public.
I wore one yesterday, you jackass. I wore a Trump hat yesterday. Where were you?
Okay.
You know what? You didn't see the white hat with the point on the top? You wore it all day.
All right, I'm going to
that's my joke. You can't steal my
I am
joke.
going to. This is an honor. I'm going to. I'm now going to.
just borrowed it.
I'm going to pass the hate comments to the great Chris Reid, kid of Kid and Play.
We only got about 2 minutes here.
All right, we're going to start with this one right here. Right here.
This one here.
Tanya.
Okay, this is from Tanya. Tanya Banks. Brian's nickname in high school was Chunky Monkey after we found out he stuffed a banana in his jockstrap.
That's true, by the way. I do
Nasty.
put bananas in my jockstrap. That is very, very true.
Right. You want to do any more?
Sure, have him read
Another one from his mother,
Okay,
Mabel.
another one from your mom's. Mabel Shapiro. When Brian was 9, he ran away from home, all because I refused to buy him a matching Donny Osmond sheet set. A week later, we found him outside the Flamingo singing, "Go away, little girl." What a brat.
Yeah.
These are very creative comments today, I must say.
Those are good.
Did a very, Chris, you did a
Thank
very
you,
good
Chris.
job.
And for our dismount,
All right, since we only got about a minute or so left here to go, we got a couple minutes. For those of the people out there that have seen your act, as far as a musician, which is Chris Reid and Kid and Play, but have never seen you do stand-up before, explain your act a little bit too. What should people expect?
Talk a little bit about everything. I actually, acknowledge my past, talk about my family, talk about relationships I've had, a little current events, a lot of stuff about television I watch, my lifestyle habits. A little bit of everything. I throw a little musical angles in there as well. So it's a nice little mishmash.
That story you gave about that Prince party, do you tell stories like that about the relationships you've had over the years?
Sometimes. I don't tell that story a lot because, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't think Bill wants me to tell that story a lot. I don't think I've ever told that story on radio before. So you got the exclusive.
The time that Bill Maher was turned away from a Prince party.
Yeah.
And then you were the good friend at 3:30 in the morning, by the way. Okay, be honest. If that happened at midnight when you just got there, would you have walked out with Bill Maher?
That's a tough one. Mariah Carey was still there, and the champagne was still a-flowing.
What food do they serve at a Prince party?
I wasn't eating nothing. I was drinking all the champagne, man. I stayed at the bar. The guy was like, "Don't you got somewhere to go?" I was like, "Nope." I was like, "No, Daquan, I'm gonna be right here."
Where are you? By the way, where are you living these days? Are you in California?
Yeah. My girl and I we live in West Hollywood.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, I'm the last straight guy in West
How do you
Hollywood.
deal with the traffic? How do you deal with the traffic there?
I don't drive.
You really don't drive?
No, I haven't driven in years.
You just Uber everywhere.
Yeah, Uber and Lyft, and my girl drives. So
Look at that.
yeah,
Look at you.
Yeah,
Look at you. You don't.
Life
you're living,
of Riley.
Look at
I've
that.
been living in West Hollywood too long, right? Everything.
Chris Reid,
Very
Kid
theatrical.
and Play. I cannot thank you enough for taking the time to join. It's been a pleasure. I grew up watching you, big fan
Thank
of
you,
yours.
man.
Your music and now your comedy, and I'm going to tell you right now, I am going to be there Saturday night. I'm bringing a date,
Do
sir.
tell.
And you are going to help me get laid.
You
so
gonna
thank
bring
you very
Diamond
much.
and Silk?
No, I'm definitely. I haven't invited any black leaders, but maybe someday.
Yeah.
Anyway, Chris, thank you so much for being
Thanks,
here, my
fellas, man. Appreciate it, man. Give it up. Give it up for these guys.
Thank you.
It's the Vegas take, baby.
I love it. Chris Reid, Kid and Play. Check him out at the Downtown Grand. It's our weekend. Sean Hannity is coming up next, everybody.
What?
That's right. Have a great weekend, everybody.
Your home for